What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your host, Adam Perez, back once again for a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today over on YouTube. You can also catch us over on Facebook, as well as Twitch for you gamers out there, and definitely catch us over on Spotify for audio versions of this show after it's aired, or wherever you certainly listen to your audio podcast. We got ourselves a great show, a stacked show for you, to certainly say the least. We got some great Power Ranger Cosmic Fury news as we get some first look information, a returning David Yost, and a ton more. Plus, we're going to be getting into the brand new Godzilla series that's going to be premiering over on Apple TV, along with some Kraven the Hunter talk and much more, guys. So let's go ahead and get into a brand new episode. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit earlier than we normally have been going here the past couple of weeks. But we'll see what happens because we do have football season around the corner, Stuart. And you know what happens when football season's here. But so glad to see everybody here joining us on a Sunday morning for another episode of A-Plus Hero Report. Not the full gang. I was kind of expecting Indy to be here. Maybe he'll pop up later on in the show. But Stuart, thank you so much, man, for certainly coming through. Good to see you here, man. Today, how's your week been, bro?
My week's been great. So far, not super awake yet, but I got my coffee, so hopefully that'll change. Before we get into our first topic. I haven't had a chance to see Blue Beetle yet, but that was because in theaters right now. We have the movie Old Boy playing. It's been restored in 4K, and I got to finally see it for the first time. And I gotta say, I kind of went in expecting to really enjoy it, but not like I didn't think I wasn't sure like how much I was going to enjoy it, or I didn't know like that much about it pretty much. But after watching it, holy crap, it's instantly just become one of my top favorite films. Like it was amazing.
Old Boy, is that the Josh Brolin movie? Or is his
his was the remake?
The remake, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about the original?
Yeah. So it was the original. It got restored in 4K. And it's playing in very select theaters. Our theater was thankfully one of the ones playing it. And the only thing I knew about the movie, funny enough, because you mentioned the Josh Brolin one, was the trailer from the Josh Brolin movie. So that was everything I knew about the plot of Old Boy going into it, was that trailer. And I think it's one of those movies you got to know very little about before watching it. The less you know, the more like just of a mind F. I can't say it because of demonetization, but the more of a mind F the ending is. It gets really, really, really dark. Like it goes to places I just didn't expect at all.
There's a part of me that kind of wishes I had seen the original before I saw the remake, honestly. But maybe it's certainly worth going back and checking out. So that's cool that you got the opportunity. So that's what kept you from seeing Blue Beetle this week, huh?
Yeah, Old Boy's re-release, but I will see Blue Beetle this week for sure. It's also unfortunately not playing at our theater, and unfortunately not doing too well. Yeah, it's because Barbie and Oppenheimer are still doing really well, and then Old Boy was selling out when we got it, so it's just like we just didn't have room for it.
How many screens y'all got?
We only got 5.
Oh, okay. But I mean, come on, you gotta stick in Blue Beetle in there somewhere. What are the other films you got in your movie theaters right now?
That is a good point. We probably could have gotten rid of either Ninja Turtles or Talk to Me, because those are the only other 2 movies that we got. I feel like
I know Talk to Me's a hit, but Talk to Me's been in the movie theaters for quite some time now, man. Get rid of Talk to Me.
Yeah, I feel like we should have gotten rid of that for Blue Beetle.
Come on, man. Get some representation. What's going on with your movie theater? I'm gonna call up your manager and complain.
It's not even our manager. It's like you gotta call up the corporate office. They're the ones that decide.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here, Stuart, man. I did get the opportunity to check out Blue Beetle today. That'll probably be one of my quick honorable mentions to discuss. Our internet was acting up all last week. We finally got it taken care of today, so hopefully we shouldn't have any issues in regards to it dropping. So we'll see how it certainly goes. But guys, listen, if you're in the live chat,
I think you're frozen.
Stop playing with me. Don't play with me. I was like, no, not today, internet. But listen, guys, if you're in the live chat, do us a big favor, man. Hit that like button. If you want to, feel free to join our live conversation and live chat. Feel free to certainly let your thoughts be known. If you want to support the channel, you can go ahead and submit over a super chat. We'll stop everything and address your comment and certainly bring you up on screen and address you live on air. However you support the channel, it all goes towards the production value of this page and this channel in general. We got some things behind the scenes that are currently working right now, so definitely trying to up the production quality for our show for you guys even more. And if you can't support us monetarily, just hit that like button, share these videos, subscribe to the channel. However you want to spread the word about A Plus Hero Report, we definitely would appreciate it, because we do not grow without you guys. We have a goal of 3,000 by the end of the year. If we can get to 3K subscribers, I think that would be fantastic, Stuart. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes. But you know what? Let's get into some honorable mentions, guys. Let's get into some honorable mentions, topics that we didn't feel quite made the cut, but definitely wanted you guys to certainly be notified of some things. And also, before we do, if you do have any live viewer questions that you want to submit over, please go ahead and do so. There is a live viewer question post over on our YouTube channel. Go to our YouTube channel, click on that community tab, and you'll definitely find the live viewer question post. You guys can go ahead and submit your questions all the way until the end of the show. Stuart, did you say you didn't have any honorable mentions, or did you find ones you wanted to briefly talk about?
Yeah, unfortunately, the closest thing I could think to with an honorable mention is Blue Beetle's box office numbers. Not great, but because it's not the biggest budget movie, it is like projected to at least break even, especially because they weren't able to spend a lot of money on the marketing, obviously because of the writer's strike. So it may not be like a bust for DC, thankfully. And yeah, like I said, I do plan on seeing it. So hopefully my ticket that I pay for it will help boost that number up.
Do you know what the Rotten Tomato score is right now for Blue Beetle?
Last I checked, it was pretty positive. Let me double check on that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's changed. I think the last time I saw critic score, it had gotten down to 79%, but still certified fresh for sure. I'm not quite sure what the audience score is in regards to Blue Beetle. Because my internet was down the past 2 nights, it did stop me from being able to do an individual video, not only for Power Rangers, but also for Blue Beetle as well. And so I figured, why not utilize this time to go ahead and do a Blue Beetle review. What do you got over there, Stuart?
So critic score is 76 and the audience score is 92%.
Okay, nice. Okay, that's pretty close to what I was personally going to grade it myself. But let's talk a little bit real quick about Blue Beetle, man, because for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to check it out, I did go ahead and see it this past Friday. I really actually kind of want to see it again, to be honest with you, Stuart. I had a really fun time with this particular film. It's a simple movie, and that's no disrespect to the film in any regards, but I think when we're so used to these big blockbuster films, especially the multiverse stuff that we've got, crazy cameos and things like that, I've been asking for, like, can I just get a solo superhero film that's just smaller in nature, but just brings the impact? And for me, I thought Blue Beetle certainly did that. I had a really fun time with this movie. Jolo Mataduena, to me, is a star, man. I've been waiting for this guy to get his opportunity on the big screen instead of, just from his time in Cobra Kai. And he fits the Jaime Reyes character to perfection. Like, there is something about Jolo Mataduena that I love, and I think that's his ability to bring emotion to any scene that he's in. I think he does emotions extremely well, and he bounces off of his co-stars to just add just great chemistry overall. So I really love what he wound up bringing to this, and the fact that James Gunn is going to bring him back as Blue Beetle in his DCU, I think is super promising. I think for me, after watching this movie, I not only wanted more Jaime Reyes, but I wanted more of the Reyes family sort of in general. The representation for the Latino culture was high in this movie, man, and I absolutely loved it. As a Puerto Rican myself, I didn't get all the references for sure, but I'll tell you what, man, they definitely had me cracking up with all the cultural references that they certainly had in here. And it is pretty impactful to see a Latino-led sort of superhero movie, to certainly say the least. And I appreciate the fact that they even sort of bring that up in the movie itself, the importance of being able to kind of see yourself, or like what Blue Beetle probably means to them. So I thought that was actually pretty eye-opening. But the humor was great in here. I mean, look, look, when you got George Lopez, man, you can't go wrong. The humor was fantastic in here. The family aspects were really fun, honestly, especially when it comes to their dynamic. Special effects looked incredible. I know some people were worried because of the Flash, like CGI and stuff. They really did a great job with the visual effects for this movie. If anything, I would say, I think the fact that the directors and those that made this movie really wanted a balance of practical and visual effects, it really looks stunning in here because the Blue Beetle suit is incredible. It's probably one of the cooler DCU suits that we've probably ever seen. But the mix between practical and visual effects, I think, go a really, really long way. The soundtrack is incredible for this movie. Also, if there are any cons that I had to it, maybe the first act could be a little bit slow in regards to his character development, but I personally didn't mind it. But I know some people that did. And then for me, maybe the villain itself that played Susan Sarandon. While I usually like her as an actress, the villain, she did come across a little bit as a little weak in regards to the villain. I just wasn't that big of a fan of her performance in here, but the action was stellar, to be perfectly honest with you, man. I had a fun time with this movie, Stuart. I really did. So yeah, man, if I had to grade this movie, I am anywhere between a B plus and an A minus right now.
Ooh, okay.
I think Cinema Score gave it a B plus. Looking at the critic score, he said it's like a 92. That would fit in the A minus range for me. So I think when I did my original review, I haven't had the opportunity to upload it yet. I gave Blue Beetle an A minus. I had a really good time with this film, and one that was certainly fun, and I want to go back and see it, honestly. And it also got the soundtrack is really great too. There's aspects of this movie that have sort of like that 80s synthesized music kind of vibe to it that just really adds, I think, like an 80s flavor to this movie that really goes a long way. And I really appreciated also just the Blue Beetle lore, whether that be just the history of the character along with the scarab itself. I thought they had some really innovative ways of giving us some backstory without kind of taking up too much time. So if you are interested in checking out Blue Beetle, do yourselves a favor, guys. Go ahead and check out this movie. Don't worry what any critics or, scores certainly tell you. Don't matter. Don't look at the box office whatsoever. If you want to see this film, I definitely think you'll walk out very, very pleased because it's one that I certainly enjoyed. So check it out, Stuart. Check it out, buddy.
Well, you've sold me. I'm definitely even more excited to see this movie than I already was. So you mentioned like kind of the history with the scarab, but without like spoiling anything, do they kind of mention Ted Kord's run as a Blue Beetle, or the guy that came before him as well, or just Ted Kord?
And this isn't, I don't want to even say this is spoilers, but if you've ever seen, you've seen, was it Skull Island, the King Kong movie?
Oh yeah.
You know how when the opening credits begin and they give you like newspaper clippings and like news report articles, like to kind of get you up to date and up to speed into what's going on? A Blue Beetle does the same thing. So it gives you a really great like just background of like the history leading up to this particular moment, sort of thing. So you know kind of what's going on. So yeah, there's definitely great Easter eggs and great comic book lore to the past Blue Beetles, which I thought was pretty neat. So they did their homework, man, for sure.
Awesome. I'm hyped, then. Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, definitely go ahead and check it out if you have not seen it. I'm trying to think if there's any other honorable mentions. I didn't pull up any photos for this honorable mention, but Scott Pilgrim. Did you see the Scott Pilgrim?
Oh yeah,
anime,
the anime.
Yeah. Is that supposed to? It's called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, I believe. Is it just a, I don't want to say a reboot, but is it just like a redoing of the movie? Because they're getting the entire movie cast back.
Yeah, essentially it's, based on the same comic book as the movie. So a lot of similar scenes, but I think like because even though the movie came off as very cartoonish and comic booky, there are still like moments that you can't really perfectly recapture in a movie, in a live action movie, that you could if it was animated. So I think like the purpose of it is to make it like a perfect like one-to-one adaptation of the comic book. But because everyone loves the cast and crew of the movie, we still have oh god, what was that director's name? The one I really like. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah, we still have Edgar Wright in charge of the production, and then yeah, as far as I can tell, like it looks like the entire cast of the movie is back, including Michael Cera, and then the one that played the girlfriend whose name I also forgot because I'm terrible with names. But
Mary Elizabeth Weinstein.
Mary Elizabeth Weinstein. Yes.
Weinstein, yeah. And I think Chris Evans is coming back too, also. So
I hope so.
yeah.
I think he was my favorite of the exes.
Yeah, I absolutely love that movie.
The only thing keeping me from her is the 5 seconds it's gonna take to kick your ass.
I love how he tricked him to do the gnarly grind on the on the guardrail on a skateboard. I absolutely love that movie, man. It's such an underrated comic book film. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Scott Pilgrim, do yourself a favor and check it out, or just wait for Scott Pilgrim takes off over on Netflix. It looks pretty good. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, it is over on our Facebook page if you want to check out the trailer for yourself. And last honorable mention real quick before we get into our main topics, there is a rumor going around, Stuart, that Thor 5 may be in development at Marvel Studios. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but comicbook.com wind up dropping this earlier this week. I don't know why. It says, yeah, Thor 5 rumored to be in development here. It says the MCU sequel is currently in development. They report that Taika Waititi is not yet linked to return, but he hasn't been ruled out either, likely due to the writers and actors strike. I'm trying to see what else that it says. It says, so while Hemsworth has not said anything concrete about Thor 5, it remains likely that Marvel Studios is at least thinking about where to take the franchise next. I got to be honest, man. I am looking forward to a Thor 5 here. But it does say that it says a new quote from Taika Waititi ignited the speculation online. A new quote. What did he recently say? Oh, he says he wants a villain that's stronger than Hela. He says, what is left to do to him? It's got to be something that feels like it's carrying on with the evolution of the character, but it's still, still in a very fun way, and still giving him things to come up against that feel like they're building on the obstacles that he has to overcome. I don't think we can have a villain that's weaker than Hela. I feel like we need to step up from there and add a villain that's somehow more formidable, is what Taika Waititi wind up saying. But to be honest with you, Stuart, I don't even know if I want Taika Waititi to come back. No disrespect to him. I think he's a great director. I have really fun with a lot of his movies, but, I loved his time in Ragnarok. There are aspects of Thor Love and Thunder that I enjoyed, but there certainly was like an over the top, like just a too much at times that I just kind of wish, like, man, I kind of wish we got a little bit back to some seriousness and focus on kind of the main story. So for me, he's had 2 shots. I've enjoyed his time here, but I kind of want to see a different vision. I want to see somebody else's perspective of the Thor character and really push this character someplace new. But what about you?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think the next perfect direction to take it would be where they kind of left it off with the War 4, with the gods now deciding, like, they want to have a war with superheroes. It could be kind of a fun opportunity to have, like, Thor kind of start his own, like, team together, including his new daughter that he adopted.
That's right.
And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it go with a darker tone too, because I mean, I love the funny comedy vibe that they went with the last 2 movies. I thought it worked, but now that Thor is a dad, I kind of want him to start taking himself a bit more seriously. I mean, I love the dumb dad trope here and there, but I feel like it's so overdone now, and it's just can we get like the more serious dad, the one that's like there to look out for their kid and then also help make sure their kids learn from their example. In fact, challenge Thor in that way, like make it so like Thor has to make some really tough decisions, like whether or not he should kill, because if he kills, what kind of example is he setting for his daughter? Like something like that. Give me something like a little bit new. Like I definitely agree with you. I love Ragnarok, and even though Love and Thunder wasn't perfect, you could tell it was definitely held back by like a rush production and studio mandates. I still thought that there was a great movie in there, and the first time I watched it, I was incredibly high, so I feel like I only saw that great movie in there. I didn't really see all the other issues in it until I watched it a second time sober. Yeah, exactly. That's when I'm like, oh wow, this movie is kind of a mess. Yeah, it's I would love to see like a whole new director and a whole new take, but don't ignore what came before. I want to see him, continue to evolve like Taika Waititi said. But unfortunately, that might mean leaving Taika Waititi behind in order for him to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do see some humor in a Thor 5 for sure, especially just the relationship between a father and daughter. I think that could definitely be some comedy gold there from time to time, especially when it comes to an adult having to interact with a child. I definitely do think it could be some great comedy gold there. But yeah, certainly aspects of him having to grow up a little bit more, maybe take himself a little bit more seriously, should be pretty interesting if that's the route that they ever decided to go kind of going forward. But yeah, definitely an evolution of the character is certainly needed at this point. So we'll see. But Thor 5, as they say, is in development. We currently have a strike going on right now, so I don't know how much in development it is, or if it's just on a Marvel Studios board somewhere. Thor 5 coming soon. You know what I mean? But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on if you would like a Thor 5, and if you do, would you like Taika Waititi to certainly return? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. But Stuart, oh, you know what? Before we get into live viewer questions, I gotta give some shout outs, man, to some people that are here with us today. Good old Melissa Benoist. What's up, AJ? AJ's in the house here coming through.
Oh, you mean it's not actually Melissa Benoist?
I wish, man. I wish. We got Steven in the house. What's up, Steven? It says, can't wait for the Power Rangers reboots. Yeah, man, me too. We got Blossom in here as well. What's up, Blossom? So Rob's in the house with us today. Good old Ram Jam certainly coming through. We got Jordan. What's up, Jordan? I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute, man. Good to see you in here. Nanditha, what's up, Nanditha? How are you? The A Games 10 is back. What's up, buddy? Enrique Perez is certainly in the house. Are there more Power Rangers news this week before Power Month ends? Oh, yeah, Enrique, we got a bunch of news for you today. We got Frankie W in the house. What's up, Frankie? Who else we got in here? I think that's everybody. I think I already got Sarav. So yeah, he says DC can't catch a break at all. Yeah, not anymore right now, man. Not anymore. I'm hoping that a nice like a year off from DC EU movies will hopefully reinvigorate people to go out to the movies when we have ourselves a brand new Superman in July of 2025. So a lot to look forward to. But yeah, again, if you haven't seen Blue Beetle, do yourselves a favor, guys. All right, Stuart. You ready to get into some main topics with me, buddy?
Always.
All right, let's go ahead and do this, man. Because look, Power Ranger fans, we're back, baby. I should just put up APlus More Phenomenal overlay on this one as we get into some Power Rangers talk. I've been waiting for like big news to drop. We've been sitting on our hands around here after the high that we were on when it comes to Power Rangers Once and Always. That's currently over on Netflix. We've been patiently waiting, just twiddling our thumbs for some Cosmic Fury news and information. And we're probably about a little over a month from the release of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. We still have not gotten ourselves a trailer, but Entertainment Weekly said, here, hold our beer for a minute. We got some great stuff to hold you over and carry you over until that moment. So we wind up getting ourselves not only the opening theme this week, we got ourselves a really cool freaking official poster as well, which just looks like they pulled it right out of Endgame. I'm getting all the cosmic and galaxy vibes here. I'm absolutely loving it, along with some great set, and I don't want to say set photos, but some new exclusive photos from Entertainment Weekly, and good old Simon Bennett leaving us some little details for us to look forward to. So, Stuart, let's go ahead and get into this news, man. This article actually came to us from Entertainment Weekly. They did have themselves a exclusive sort of first look here. But the big news, Stuart, it says this is an exclusive from Entertainment Weekly. The original Blue Power Ranger actor David Yost is set to go ahead and rejoin the cast for the 30th season. Now, look, this is something that here at APlus More Phenomenal and Hero Report, we were keeping you guys up to date in regards to that piece of information for quite some time. That look, David Yost was going to be popping up in Cosmic Fury in some sort of capacity, but we were very much much under the belief that it was going to be sort of a one-off. On a 10 episode series, he did such a fantastic job when it comes to Once and Always. We were hinting at the idea that, what, maybe he'll have a small cameo. If we're lucky, maybe it'll be 2 episodes, but we definitely knew for sure that it was at least going to be 1. But according to Entertainment Weekly, there's certainly more to it. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We'll go ahead and pull up this first exclusive image from them as you get to see David Yost with the remainder of the cast here. No Kai Moya. As you guys can see, no Ollie in this photo, but it says, once a Ranger, always a Ranger. EW can exclusively confirm that the Blue Power Ranger actor David Yost is joining the cast of Cosmic Fury. Just months after putting the spandex back on for the 30th anniversary reunion special, Yost is returning as a series regular for the first time since his departure in the middle of seasons 4, Power Rangers Zeo, back in 1996. It says Yost, Billy Cranston, seen in the exclusive premiere of the Cosmic Fury title sequence above, will now fight alongside the Dino Fury Rangers as they evolve into the Cosmic Fury Rangers for season 30 of the beloved franchise, which has been reinvented more than 20 times. It says, this is from the executive producer, Simon Bennett. He says, we felt it would be a meaningful landmark for fans to have David return to the show in a significant role, playing a mentor. Cosmic Fury, Simon Bennett tells EW, and on a personal level, it was a thrill to be working with the OG Blue Ranger. David's calm and positive spirit kept us all grounded and reminded us of the Power Ranger legacy we were striving to do justice to. Bennett also explained that they actually mapped out Billy's return prior to the reunion special coming together. So Once and Always will be completely separate from Cosmic Fury, is what he says. He says, and we were asked to keep it that way. Apart from a couple of tiny Easter eggs, he says, I won't give these away, but I'm keen to see if fans pick up on them. So it definitely explains to us here, Stuart, that when it comes to Cosmic Fury, clearly written before Once and Always, and according to Simon, it maybe wasn't necessarily his idea. He says, we were asked to kind of keep it that way. So they will, in fact, be completely separate projects. It's a little bit of a bummer for me, man. I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish that it was, I don't want to say I wish it was more well thought out. I'm sure they probably put it together as best as they possibly could. Maybe they probably didn't even know, hey, we're also going to be doing a 30th anniversary special by the time the script for Cosmic Fury was already taken care of. So I'm definitely not mad about that. But there is a part of me that's like, man, I really wish there was more kind of connective tissues to it. But he does say there's kind of Easter eggs here and there. So I do wonder if I am kind of curious as to if there are any connections, how minimal and what they certainly might be. But how do you feel about that idea of it being completely separate? Are you down for that?
Okay, so like the one thing that does kind of bum me out is that it does mean that like one of my theories about where Cosmic Fury could go is definitely not going to happen. When Once and Always ended, there was like a glimmer of hope with Billy that maybe they still could find Zordon out there, that maybe Trini wouldn't want him to stop searching. But if it's going to be completely separate, I doubt Zordon will even come up pretty much. But I am kind of curious with the Easter eggs, what they'll be, if it's just going to be kind of what I'm hoping it is like a name drop for Charlie or something along those lines.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, a name drop for Charlie would be pretty neat. I don't even know if we would come across Charlie Kirsch in who played Min in Once and Always. I mean, who knows? We got 10 episodes. Maybe they do a quick stop by the lab or something, and Charlie's already there with David or with Billy's. So who certainly knows? But let's see here. It also says Lord Zed has escaped, and this time his rampage extends to the farthest reaches of space, reads the official Cosmic Fury description. The Rangers need to find new Zords and new powers to face Zed's latest threat, and they won't do so alone. Joined by some familiar faces, they will discover the power of the cosmic orbs and become the Cosmic Fury Rangers, armed with new uniforms, new weapons, and an entire new fleet of Zords. It says, even the tech genius and master of logic, Billy's help is crucial to the Rangers in their battle against Lord Zed. Billy's expertise shines as the team rallies to fend off both the galactic invasion and the potential undoing of all the good that came from MMPR team. And they also gave us some other exclusive images here of the team as well. So yeah, man, I'm really hyped for this, Stuart. This is looking great. They did give us also let me see if do I have the I was trying to see if I have the actual, like, the opening for the video itself. I was trying to see if we were able to pull that up from the Entertainment Weekly article. But I'm loving the costumes are coming together pretty well. How are you feeling about the costumes though?
Like I kind of mentioned this before. I thought they looked really cool on the design paper, like before we actually like kind of saw them in the suits. But like kind of seeing them in the suits, I don't know. There's just something about the coloring that just isn't like popping for me like other Power Ranger suits have in the past. But I do want to wait until we actually see them like in action before I make my final judgment on that. Because even in this opening, it's surprisingly we don't even get a look at them. It looks like all the footage that's used here is either from Dino Fury or the very first episode, which very surprising.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I certainly recognize. Is like, man, we don't even get a glimpse of any of this stuff. But if anything, in regards to that, Simon Bennett did clarify something here. He says Cosmic Fury is essentially season 3 of Dino Fury. In fact, it was called Dino Fury 3 until quite late in the day when it was renamed for marketing purposes. He says, are the Dino Fury powers going to be upgraded into Cosmic Fury suits, or will this be like a super mega force situation? And he says, no, they're going to be upgraded into Cosmic Fury suits. And he also mentioned, I don't think I pulled the tweet, but he also did mention the idea that the opening is going to change too. I don't think he said week to week, but almost. So I'm assuming as they get upgraded, who knows? I don't even necessarily know if the team itself will be upgraded all at once. If each individual members might get an upgrade before others, who certainly knows? But Simon Bennett did state that they have made multiple openings for this show as the series progresses. So I'm assuming as people get their upgrades, they'll change as well. So the fact that we don't get to see them in this opening certainly makes sense, especially with the end of Dino Fury. But you pointed out something too, Stuart, when you see this Kai Moya as Ollie sequence here, right?
Yeah, for everyone else, it's basically the same footage that we see of them in Dino Fury, with them turning to face the camera and smile. But for Ollie, he just kind of turns very deadpan, not smiling at all, which I think adds to that rumor, or maybe it wasn't a rumor, it might have been confirmed, but that he would actually be turning, evil in the first episode. So we may not like see him with the team for a majority of the series. He might actually be Lord Zed's henchman, which, if I remember correctly, I think he was controlled by Lord Zed at some point during Dino Fury. So it could be that like that mind control thing just never went away. It was just, dormant until, Zed really needed it, or Zed saw like a perfect opportunity for it. And I'm assuming that opportunity will be now in this series.
Yeah, Ollie's looking kind of pissed here. Definitely, like he got something he's got to get off his chest here. So we'll see. Look, you're right. Lord Zed did brainwash him in Dino Fury. Whether or not that's still traces, or maybe he's come to the light and is like, you know what, I really don't like this team after all. Like,
I hope not.
I'm so much smarter than all of you. I mean, he's such a dick in Dino Fury from time to time on his own without even being brainwashed. So who certainly knows?
But I mean, that was what was so cool about it, though, is that he changed. He like really grew. So if you tell me like after all that growth, he just suddenly decides, actually, nah, screw you guys. Oh man, that would upset me. Not gonna lie.
He's lying. Deuces, Amelia. So yeah, no, he's probably definitely brainwashed or something's happened to him. But yeah, man. I'm gonna be honest with you also, Stuart, about this opening theme. I'm not a big fan of the song, man. I kind of really appreciate Dino Fury's even more. First off, Jacqueline Joe as Fern, so glad that she's a part of this team. Get an opportunity to see David Yost as Billy, certainly returning is fantastic. And I kind of love the designs of these. I don't know if I didn't get a chance to watch the Super Sentai series that Cosmic Fury is going to be utilizing the Zords from. But I am kind of curious if these characters were utilized in that series from Super Sentai. I just think they're pretty cool design. They look like fish people almost.
Well, like, yeah, those are definitely original designs, but they definitely fit the theme of the other monsters that were used in Q Ranger. And it makes me think that one theory that people have, where like the main villain, Jark Matter, he has this like form at the end, which is kind of squid like, but it's also kind of similar to Zed's in that it's like he's basically like made of complete flesh. So what a lot of people are thinking is that Zed may actually have that as his final form. And I think with the new henchman having a very squid-like design, I think that just kind of like adds to that theory. Also, wow, I didn't see this photo before, but I think this kind of confirms that Javi does lose his arm, because now we're seeing him with his robotic arm outside the Ranger
Oh,
suit.
damn, you're
So,
right.
oh my
You're right.
gosh,
Like
that's
it's not just a costume or like an upgrade. I mean, this is legit the man's arm. Oh
dang.
shit, Stuart. I didn't recognize. I didn't realize that.
Like, I know it's probably not going to last more than one episode, because I'm sure he'll get his new robotic arm in the next one. But I can only just like imagine how devastating that would be for him as a musician. Not being able to like for like a brief moment, thinking, oh man, not being able to do anything that I was so passionate about.
Look, I'm just gonna say, if that is the case, I mean, like when we first saw the arm, I think so. I think we definitely do have the speculation, like, oh my god, does he lose his arm? And then we're like, that's kind of dark for Power Rangers. Like maybe it's just a suit upgrade or whatever the case may be. But I mean, for me, there's a part of me that's like, that's happened in episode 1, bro. Like, I think that's happened in episode 1, set the tone, set the pace, and the attitude of what this series is going to potentially be. Maybe Solon's got to come through and like create an arm. Maybe it's David, maybe it's Billy that comes through
Ooh.
and creates it for him or something like that. But you're right. The fact that we see him in his casual clothes with that arm definitely implies that it's certainly not just a costume. So yeah, what happens to Javi will definitely be something to look forward to. And look, you also got Ollie and Amelia in them leather jackets, man. It's like they both upgraded here to like a more hardcore style personality. So I am kind of curious to see where it goes for those two. And one image that I keep seeing gets brought up in here too is is in the cockpits.
Mm-hmm.
So Amelia is still pink in this one, I believe, or at least she's in her pink outfit. Even though she is in the red Zord, I believe. But if you look at Billy, Billy's got his Tyrannosaurus gear on, but he's getting an opportunity to man another Wolf Zord in his life. This is his second Wolf Zord he's got the opportunity to tackle and play with.
That's hilarious. I completely forgot that one of the Zords he had was a wolf sword, but that's awesome. I do love that they completely like recreated some of the Zord sets from Q Ranger. So
Yeah.
even though they're using Zord footage from Q Ranger, it's not they're not being lazy about it. Clearly, they're definitely like putting a lot of work into that. It's also like interesting, like when you go to the actual like Zord fight. So like in Q Ranger, I was so curious how they were going to be able to fix this, and I assume they just basically added more light in post-production, because in Q Ranger you could see the Rangers inside the Zords, like even when you're looking at an
Mm.
exterior shot of the Zord. So I was wondering how they were going to fix it, and I think they just basically added a lot more light in post-production in order to hide the fact that it's like completely different costumes inside the Zords. But I am curious how it's going to look in the final product.
And this was a shot. Speaking of the cockpits and the orbs, this is a behind the scenes photo that was released by Simon Bennett over on his IG page. Over the past couple of days, he's been posting these nice little clips here, little images. He also went ahead and posted this photo as well of Billy. Looks like one of the stunt doubles training against Lord Zed's putties, if you will. And then another fantastic shot here as well. I love the helmets, man, for these the kind of I don't they're not really Z putties anymore, but I do love the space putties we got here.
They almost look like putties with like a Power Ranger like design, like upgrade. Like I'm wondering, has Zed been able to tap into the morphing grid, and is he finally like able to
Mm.
create like his own like group of evil like rangers or something?
Dude, that'd be pretty badass if he's able to. Um, how do you like the poster?
I love the poster. I love on the very bottom, like we can kind of see. I'm assuming they're going to be like the upgraded versions of these foot soldiers. You see a couple of them like wearing red. I can recognize some of the ships that Dark Matters troops used in Q Ranger in the background. And more than anything, I just love the different planet designs that we
Planets,
see.
yeah.
I really hope this is a full on like exploration, like space exploration type show. Like we get to go from one world to another. I really hope it's not just we leave Earth for like one episode and then we're just hovering above Earth. Kind of like Power Rangers in space. I really hope this is like more like Lost Galaxy where they're actually exploring the universe.
I'm hoping so too. I think the idea that all those planets are on the poster, I think definitely emphasizes that. So I totally agree with you. Whether they got to do some searching, trying to find these orbs across these several different planets, I think that would be pretty neat, quite honestly. And just with the rest of this trailer here, we actually do have a brand new list of executive producers also. Oliver Dumont, Carrie Rosenberg, Randy Yaffa, and of course Saban is still certainly attached. So there's a part of me that's hoping with some of the new executive producers that we have here, that we have ourselves a little bit of a new flavor when it comes to how Power Rangers is certainly seen and shown. So I'm really looking forward to this, Stuart. Like I'm so glad that they gave us some information finally. I know a lot of people have been really waiting for it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited for this. So I'm bummed that we still have to wait a month because I was under the impression we were getting it this month. So I am bummed a little bit in that area, but I'm excited regardless.
And then this is from Simon Bennett. Somebody did ask him, with Once and Always and Cosmic Fury being written around the same time, where there always the decision to isolate Zed and Rita separately. I imagine the human aspect of Rita would be difficult, hence Robo option. And Simon says Cosmic Fury was written first. Rita was never going to be a part of the story, but we knew we had Zed to play with since he had escaped his crystal prison at the end of Dino Fury. Once and Always revolved around Robo Rita. We were asked for there to be as little continuity between the two projects as possible. So yeah, I hope that kind of explains it.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, so I am kind of curious though, like because like you mentioned earlier with the Easter eggs, I am kind of curious what Easter eggs they'll be and how they'll be able to like place them in. I am assuming they'll be the kind where it'll be like it'll be so subtle that if you didn't watch Once and Always, it probably won't like change anything that you think about with Cosmic Fury.
And we do have one more article here, because the as far as returns go, apparently David Yost isn't going to be the only one making a return. We have another article from Entertainment Weekly that lets us know Power Rangers producer teases a second familiar face might return for season 30. And that would be none other than good old Mick himself, played by Kelson Henderson. It says EW exclusively revealed the return of David Yost. Simon Bennett tells us it's possible that Mick, portrayed by MVP Kelson Henderson, might be involved in the story along the way. It does say, let's see here, because there was more information. It says, interestingly, he's going to set up his so it's okay here. Let me read this off. It says Cosmic Fury will kick off September 29th on Netflix. So mark your calendars, guys. September 29th on Netflix. Believe it or not, Stuart, I actually have already requested my day off of work for that. So I will be binging Cosmic Fury. It says, with the Dino team discovering the power of the cosmic orbs and becoming the Cosmic Fury Rangers as they prepare to face off against a returning baddie, Lord Zed. It says, interestingly, he's going to set up his fortress and base on planet Eltar, which will have some meaning for long-term fans of the show, Bennett teases, referencing to the home planet of original Ranger mentor Zordon. The executive producer also promises there will be Easter eggs and lore tie-ins aplenty for the loyal members of the Power Ranger fandom.
Hang on, I got to interrupt for 1 minute. That's interesting because there was a tie-in comic book I remember that came out like for the 25th anniversary of Power Rangers before Dimensions in Danger. It was a bit of a tie-in. It was basically it was like kind of tied to the storyline with Tommy, the evil Tommy, Draken, that was his name. It was the tie into that, but it was technically not like part of it. It was like it was like a weird one-off, like I forgot what they called it. But anyways, it showed like basically the effects that he was having throughout the different Ranger teams, and it briefly shows Ninja Steel for like one bit of it. And during that, we find out that Mick and Alpha actually knew each other back in the day. So I wonder if there's going to be any more mention of that with him being on Eltar.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I love the fact that Mick keeps popping up, man. I remember when Mick was first announced on Dino Fury and people were losing their shit and they're like, oh no, Ninja Steel 2.0. People were freaked out, but I thought they handled his cameo pretty well, and certainly always kind of set up the idea that, hey, if Mick is going to return, there's always certainly a possibility. So I love the fact that Simon Bennett refers to him as the MVP, because Kelson Henderson always certainly does come through for Power Rangers. But yeah, I love the idea that it's very much going to be the fortress and the base kind of set up on Eltar. And it does make me wonder if, now that we realize how separate Cosmic Fury and Once and Always is, I am curious if Cosmic Fury, if that takes place technically after Once and Always, because there's a part of me that's wondering, like, does Billy's adventure here with Cosmic Fury, maybe even going to Eltar at some point, does that sort of trigger his wanting to get Zordon back, and his search for Zordon, thus leading us into Once and Always? Or if Once and Always kind of came first, like what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of mentality? I am kind of curious to see if Simon will clarify that for us. But yeah, I dig it.
I am also really glad that he's letting us know this now, so that when we go into Cosmic Fury, we won't be like, what? Why is it Billy Yost bringing up the events of Once and Always or anything like that?
Yeah, so I am glad that they certainly clarified it. He says, and as for Yost coming back 25 years later, we felt it would be a meaningful landmark for the fans to have David return to the show in such a significant role, playing a mentor. Oh yeah, we already talked about that a little bit. So yeah, man, big things are definitely happening when it comes to Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. Again, go ahead and mark your calendars. September 29th will be the brand new series. All 10 episodes, I am assuming, will in fact be dropped. I definitely don't think this is going to be another part 1, part 2 situation. Dino Fury had a lot more episodes, considering the fact that this is 10 episodes. I think Simon Bennett has not shied away from letting us know as far as episode length, probably around the same that we can certainly expect from traditional Power Ranger episodes, maybe a little bit longer. That's just my own hope and prayer here. Give me like 25 minutes at least would be great, instead of like 22, maybe 25 to 28. I'll be happy with. But yeah, a lot of big things are certainly going to be happening when it comes to Power Ranger Cosmic Fury. So guys, listen, these are just our A+ opinions. We want to know yours. What are some things that you got hyped about from learning about, not only from these Entertainment Weekly articles, but also the idea of the opening theme? You know, Stuart, I mentioned this briefly. I'm not a fan of the theme. How do you like the theme for Cosmic Fury, though?
I like it about as much as I did with Dino Fury. I think
Yeah,
like I'm just not the biggest fan of like kind of the shorter themes that they've been doing when they're only like 30 seconds. But you know, I thought it was, you know, okay overall. But I do look forward to seeing it change like over the episodes. I do like that they're not using any footage from later episodes. I guess there's some spoilery stuff that they, you know, don't want to show us. The other thing that surprisingly they never mentioned in the articles, but was mentioned from I believe the Illuminati, but one more character we'll be seeing coming back is Snide, but or not Snide, but Heckle, yeah, Heckle. But he will be the Dark Ranger that we never got to see in Dino Charge, so that'll be kind of cool to see.
Oh, that's right. There were like reports and rumors that he was going to be in there, right? Did they ever confirm that though?
I'm not sure, but it came from the Illuminati, and usually I have yet to see an article they've written about Power Rangers that has not been accurate so far. So maybe this will be the first. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it will be. As far as the Power Rangers reboot goes, I know a lot of people are probably looking for some news in that regards. While we don't have anything concrete, I will say this past week, Hasbro did in fact announce that they're launching an entertainment division. For those of you who don't know, Hasbro sold off Entertainment One. They had purchased it a few years back for a ton of money. And I guess maybe they decided they didn't necessarily need it anymore. They're just going to go in a completely different direction now that they do have a brand new CEO and Chris Cox, I believe his name is. They decided to, whatever their original plan was, they're certainly going in a different trajectory. And so Hasbro has sold off Entertainment One to Lionsgate, but Hasbro still plans on launching their own entertainment division. And so it is important to understand with this launch, they do have brand new executives in place. And so let's go ahead and bring this up real quick here, Stuart, just so people know. Power Rangers is still very much being worked on, but it says Hasbro launches entertainment division led by E1 executives. So even though they've sold off E1, I do think it's fascinating, Stuart, that some of their big executives have in fact decided to stick around with Hasbro and come over to the Hasbro side of things. Oliver Dumont, whose name we literally just saw in the executive producer credits at the end of Cosmic Fury. So he's already getting his hands involved when it comes to Power Rangers production. It says Oliver Dumont will serve as president of Hasbro Entertainment, while Zev Foreman and Gabriel Morano will serve as head of film and head of television, respectively. It says, we are thrilled to embark on this new chapter, building up our rich heritage of storytelling to continue delighting audiences across generations. Gabe, Zev, and I look forward to working with the industry's best creative teams, studios, and distribution platforms to push the envelope with innovative storytelling that will let fans engage with their favorite brands like never before, while also building new, exciting worlds and the next wave of Hasbro franchises for a growing audience. It does say here, it says Foreman and Morano were primarily focused on Hasbro IP projects while at E1 and will continue this work in their new roles directly for Hasbro. So it's almost like these properties haven't really skipped a beat. They're still keeping these people attached that were attached to them in Entertainment One. It says Foreman served as president of film production for E1, overseeing projects like Dungeons and Dragons, Transformers: Rise of the Beast, as well as other films he's been credited for. Blue Beetle, Dallas Buyers Club, and it says Morano was co-head of scripted development for E1. He worked on the development of projects like Dungeons and Dragons series, which is in works at Paramount Plus, as well as Netflix's Power Rangers series from Jonathan Entwistle and Jenny Klein. So they're very much attached to this. So regardless of Entertainment One being sold to Lionsgate, Hasbro very much still owns the intellectual property for Power Rangers and are keeping those executives that were attached from Entertainment One now on board with Hasbro. So I think that's a pretty interesting development there, Stuart.
Yeah. I'm very surprised it's gonna not be an E1 project. I thought like things in that department were going well, but if they have some of the same people still working on it, I guess I'm pretty optimistic. Especially since I have seen the newest Transformers movie yet, but I did see Dungeons and Dragons and thought it was a really really entertaining film.
Yeah,
so if they have some of the same producers from that, they're still I'm still pretty optimistic, I'd say, overall.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you there. Let's see if there's any comments in here. We'll see what you guys are saying in regards to the Power Rangers stuff that we talked about. Blossom with her love for Hobby over here. Hobby looking so freaking hot in that suit. What do you think of his robotic arm, Blossom? Let me know what you think about his arm. Sarav, he says, I can't wait to see Billy's take on PR mentor after Tommy. Also, Billy pilots the Wolf Zord here for at least one episode. Yeah, I kind of dig the idea of him being a mentor for sure. If it's not going to be Tommy, I feel like Billy's the next best thing, man. How do you feel about that role for him, Stuart?
Oh, perfect. It's he was already kind of a bit of a mentor during the events of Zeo, but now we get to see him both as a mentor and as a ranger still kicking ass. I think like some of my favorite like mentors and rangers coincidentally are both because basically the guy from Power Rangers Jungle Fury and of course Doggy Kruger from SPD, probably both my favorite mentors in the series and my favorite rangers in the series. And I wouldn't be surprised if after watching Billy and Cosmic Furies if he's going to be up there too.
So Rob also says, I can bet that after David's return, almost everyone is excited to find out what happens to Javi's arm. Yeah, man, I think that's definitely on my most anticipated list to kind of figure out what's going on. Look, again, this considering the fact that this is very much an original story, 10 episodes long, no filler, according to Simon Bennett. I think this is going to be pretty intense. I think this series might actually end up surprising some people. Maybe the changes to the Power Ranger formula that really do go a long way to maybe help build very articulate and maybe more mature storytelling. So I'm expecting to see the emotions from all these characters for sure, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us, man. The A Games 10 says the irony of Ollie potentially become a villain is there's another TV show where he plays a villain called Villains of Valley View. Yeah, I think I I have briefly seen clips of him as a villain in there. Pretty menacing dude. He fits the asshole villain pretty well, I think.
Maybe Simon Bennett saw an episode of that and was like, "Hey Ollie, you want to be a villain for the next season?"
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they saw that and they're like, bro, you're too good at that role. Like maybe we should do something different with you. Look, Blossom does say something else here. She says, Javi with a broken arm. Ouch. He's still hot though. He may not have lost his arm, right? I mean, could this be like a upgraded cast that he's just rocking?
I hope not. Ah, man, that'd be such a lame cop out.
He's like, oh, I hurt my elbow, and then he gets the robotic cast. No.
I hope not. I'm gonna be so mad if that's the case.
You're like, cut his arm off.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? It is Power Rangers, so I'm okay with this. If they wanted, like at the very end of the show, like magically find a way for him to get his actual arm back, I'm all for that. You know what? Go for it. Power Rangers has done dumber things, but don't have it be a broken arm and that be like an advanced cast. That's just so dumb.
Enrique says, when will the next opening theme for Cosmic Fury come out? Probably episode 2. I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting any new one to certainly drop before then. I think we'll probably see the changes to the opening themes maybe beginning episodes 2 or 3. The A Game says if you pause the opening at certain points, then you can definitely notice different villains from different Sentai as well as original villains. Ooh, interesting. The A Game 10. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for bringing that up though. Blossom says Mick is returning. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Simon Bennett teases possibly, but it's like, come on, bro. Just tell me he's coming back. So Rob thinks maybe either Mick or Billy makes the arm and the others help the Rangers get it operational. Certainly possible. Blossom says Eltar, that's where Zordon is from. Absolutely. I think that's what makes it even that much more interesting, honestly. Jordan says he believes the episode should be 30 minutes. I would be like, I'm right there with you, Jordan. Give me 30-minute episodes. I would absolutely love that. But we'll have to see once the actual series is dropped. Remember, September 29th. Mark off of work if you haven't, guys. I've taken my day off. Sarav says visually it's an extravaganza from the music standpoint, though the only parts that stood out to me were towards the end of the song. I will say I do like the lyrics. I mean, I do like the lyrics for the song. I just don't care for like the beat and how it kind of came together. If I had a preference, I probably would have like for me, I appreciate the Dino Fury song a little bit more. But listen, if you love the theme song, more props to you. I'm glad you guys really enjoyed it. Just doesn't work for me, but maybe it's one of those things that kind of grows on you after hearing it enough. I feel like that was maybe the Dino Fury theme for some people. It's like you hear it enough times, it becomes catchier and catchier, and it kind of grows on you. That game senses when it comes to Cosmic Fury's opening, I feel like I know what happens to Javi's arm. There's a point where Javi looks to be holding a Morphing Master staff. Bro, don't tell me Javi. Don't tell me Ali. You think Ali cuts off Javi's arm? They're like buds in Dino Fury, aren't they? Don't they like have a lot of like episodes where they have to like they're working together? I thought so. I always thought they made a pretty good team, but that would suck if that's if Javi uses a Morphing Master staff to take off. I mean, Ollie uses a Morphing Master staff to do that.
Dude, that would just mean like when the spell wears off, you know, he'd have more to feel like really guilty about when he comes back to the team.
I feel like I know what happens to Javi's arm. There's a point where Javi looks to be holding Morpher Master.
Oh, it might be that. Oh, like, maybe if Javi's holding it, is too much power.
Too much power. Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm sorry. I read that wrong. That's why I had to reread it. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I read that wrong. But yeah, maybe that could be it. Maybe he's like, oh, what's this staff do? And then his whole arm deteriorates. Who knows? Marcelino, what's up? He says, I'm sorry I'm late. Cosmic Fury looks epic. Can't wait to see Billy return. I'm glad that the theme isn't spoiling anything major right now. I will say that is pretty cool in the sense that the opening theme hasn't given us too much. Like you said, it kind of recycles some images from Dino Fury. So I think that does kind of go a long way, honestly. Morphine Henshin. What's up, Morphin? Or Morph Henshin. Billy being a mentor and ranger in Cosmic Fury remains of Doggy, Tommy, Daggeron, but I'm glad his playing both ranger and mentor different from Zio. Yeah, it's not either or, right? He's getting an opportunity to kind of play both. For sure. Melissa Benoist says, I think Cosmic Fury will be more than 22 minutes. There's so much story to tell beyond 22 minutes. We know Simon likes to tease us.
He teases, but he doesn't lie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. He teases, but he doesn't really lie about things. So I look, if he says it's around normal time, then I would agree. I think it's probably going to be in that range from 22 to 30. I think you can get away with saying what Simon Bennett said with that possibly being the range. So we'll see though. We'll see. Who else hasn't gotten the opportunity? What's up, Tony? Good to see you in here, Tony. What if in battle Lord Zed injures Javi's arm and damages some nerves? That's possible, right? His arm doesn't necessarily need to be gone. That kind of goes back to the upgraded cast, right, Stuart?
Actually, you know what? I'll say that I'd be more okay with like, yeah, he damages his arms like like from the inside, like damages his nerves or something like that. It'd be non-violent, you know, to show on screen, and it would honestly make a lot of sense for that to require a mechanical cast too. So I'm okay with that explanation. Just don't have it be that it's broken.
Yeah, I get you. So yeah, I would approve of that for sure, Tony. I like that idea. The A Games 10 says Simon Bennett has confirmed before the episode length of Cosmic Fury is the same as before, with 22 to 23 minutes long. So there you go. Most talented man alive is here. What's up, man? He says, do you think Fern will be the Orange Ranger? While she is purple right now, she could be pulling a Min by hiding the color. Min was orange before revealed to be yellow. Yeah, I do believe that even though she's showing up as purple right now in the main theme, I don't see why they couldn't, you know, just throw a different color shade on there for sure in a brand new opening at some point in time during the series. So look, that would be my question, Stuart, right? Like, is Fern going to be the Orange Ranger? Or if we do have ourselves a returning Mick, God forbid, does Mick also become, is he the Orange Ranger, right? We've seen this man decked out in orange before. So it does make me wonder if that's a actual possibility now.
I don't know. I feel like Orange was more of well, not that he's too old. It's just that I feel like Orange was more what was his name? Boom, right? Boom was his name. I feel like that was more Boom's thing, even though they're played by the same actor. I don't know. I feel like if we got Boom back as the Orange Ranger, that'd be cool. I don't know if it would work with Mick, but if anything, if Mick were to be the Purple Ranger from Q Ranger, because I freaking love that suit from Q Ranger, I'd be down for that. Like, have Mick be the Purple Ranger.
And I would love I really would love Fern to be an Orange Ranger, especially from that costume from Q Ranger. Was it the Scorpion? I think that was pretty badass with the scorpion
Oh
tail.
yeah, the Scorpion one. That was
Yeah,
sick.
I think that would be a pretty sick costume for Fern for sure.
Yeah, I am still curious if that's the one that they're going to use, or if they're going to make a completely original Ranger suit for her that we haven't seen yet.
Christopher Throb is in the house. He says, I've only seen the first 5 episodes of Dino Fury and I just ended my Netflix account. Womp womp. Yeah, maybe you could find it somewhere online or use somebody else's password. Let's see here. Most Talented Man says, speaking of Mick, was he really a Red Ranger in Ninja Steel just for one scene? That was a huge waste of opportunity. Thanks to Sentai footage. I think he was, right?
Yeah, it was him and Brody's dad. They become the Red Rangers briefly.
Javi says, Javi, episode 1. Owie, my arm has a bruise. The cast. Yeah, we got to cut it off. Get that chainsaw out, baby. The cosmic chainsaw. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with Javi's arm. But look, I dig the idea of this team getting off world. I feel like we barely got the opportunity to see any Zato in this opening theme too. Like, what's Champagne Poppy Ranger up to these days? I definitely need to find out. But look, I love everything that I'm seeing so far. While again, I'm not the fan of the theme song, I did like the opening sequence in here. The poster looks absolutely stellar. It's just got so galactic epicness just written all over it that I can't wait for us to dive into. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on Cosmic Fury. And as we get any more big news here from Power Rangers, we'll definitely go ahead and keep you guys posted on any further developments. But yeah, at the end of the day, these are just our A+ opinions. We always want to know yours. So let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. And before we move on to our next topic, I believe Indy is here to join us today. Are you ready to come into the office, sir? What's up, brother? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, man, we can't see your background. We want to see your cats, man. No, I'm just kidding. I can see him moving back there.
Yeah, they're driving me nuts right now.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. Tired. You threw me off with the 11 o'clock start. I didn't get off work. I didn't get off work till 7. I was trying to get some sleep and then woke up, and then my phone was like, "Oh, they're live." I was like, "Oops."
No, you're good. No, you're good. You came in at perfect timing, man. We just wrapped up Power Rangers. So we got 5 other topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. We'll get the opportunity to get some of Indy's thoughts. I mean, by the way, I'm sure you've probably seen the Cosmic Fury poster and stuff, Indy. Have you had the opportunity to see the opening theme or read anything about Power Rangers? What are your thoughts in general about Cosmic Fury?
I plead the fifth.
Not a fan?
Seen it, or just didn't like it?
Didn't you say we got you hyped for checking out Dino, like you to make you want to check out Dino Fury?
Yeah, because I'm a David Yost fan. I don't think that they got me hyped. They put somebody in there that I support. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like putting Kenny Omega on a card. If he's in a match, I'm gonna watch it.
Gonna watch it.
Doesn't mean that I think it's gonna be good. It's just that Kenny Omega's in the match. If you put one of the best that ever been, you know what I'm saying, into something, you're gonna check it out to see what happens.
Hey, Tony Robinson's got a message for you, man. He loves your crispy line. Loves your haircut, man.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
And AJ, he says, so Adam doesn't like the new theme for Cosmic Fury, yet he loves the one for Dino Fury. Dino Fury grew on me. Maybe Cosmic Fury will grow on me too. I'll give it a chance. All right, guys, with that out of the way, let's move over to our next topic, because it would be really cool if we eventually got this crossover. We've gotten this crossover in the comic books, Power Rangers versus none other than Godzilla, but Godzilla is back in the news as Apple TV has a brand new Godzilla series that we're going to be tackling. They've done a really great job, if you ask me, of building up sort of this Monsterverse, going back to Godzilla. We had the King Kong Skull Island movie. We had Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then what is it, Kong versus Godzilla, or whatever the case. That movie was a great job of building up the Monsterverse, and apparently they're certainly not done, as we have more Godzilla certainly headed our way in a brand new series titled Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Let's go ahead and dive into this, guys, because we did get ourselves some brand new photos as well. This article comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, saying that the Godzilla roars and first look at Apple TV Plus and Legendary's Titans series. I don't believe that they dropped a trailer. They did drop a trailer or a teaser. Let me know. But if anything, we did get ourselves some exclusive photos for this. Let me go ahead and pull this up as we read this article for you guys. It says Apple TV has offered up some tantalizing details as well as the first photos for its upcoming series based on Legendary's Monsterverse. For starters, the show now has a title, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. And as the image at the top of this story shows, Godzilla will very much be a part of the series. Additionally, the streamer has also revealed the characters, or rather character, singular, that father and son Kurt and Wyatt Russell will play. It says the story of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, will span 3 generations and center on 2 siblings who follow in their father's footsteps to uncover their family's connection to the secret organization known as Monarch, the kaiju tracking group featured in the legendary Monsterverse films. The siblings' research eventually leads them to Army Officer Lee Shaw, played by Wyatt Russell, as you see here, as a young man in the 50s. And then Kurt Russell will be the show's present version of him, which I think is actually pretty cool that they're going to be doing that. Let me see if I can find this Kurt Russell photo. They did go ahead and post this one as well. Here we go. Let me go ahead and update this. So that's kind of cool that they're getting father and son literally to play the same character, just years apart, if you will. It says it is set, and the present is set in the events of the 2014's Godzilla. So I think that's pretty interesting for us to learn the time period of this. Monarch is threatened by what Shaw knows. The show's description reads that Legacy of the Monsters will reveal buried secrets and the ways that epic earth-shattering events can reverberate through our lives. So I think that's pretty interesting there, Stuart. I don't think we have any other further details from this show as of right now, but we do have other images here. What are your thoughts on this, though, Stuart?
Well, for me, I love Godzilla just in general, and I've been really enjoying the MonsterVerse for the most part. I do think, in retrospect, like Godzilla versus King Kong was really, really, really bad. Honestly, like probably one of the worst written movies I've ever seen. But I do think that I do really love King of the Monsters, and of course, I thought their first Godzilla movie was great, along with Kong Skull Island. So I do look forward to seeing like what this is going to look like in a series, and I look forward to seeing like what other monsters or titans, as they're calling them in this, we get to see going forward. I really hope they're able to use other Toei characters, and I hope it's not just limited to, Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Godzilla. But yeah, so far I'm loving what I see. Visually, it's incredible because it looks like, straight. It looks straight from like a theatrical feature. So for a TV show to have this kind of budget, pretty insane.
Yeah, I totally agree. What about you, Indy? Just hearing from this article, what are your thoughts on this upcoming series?
I'm looking much forward to it. The only problem for me is that I don't have Apple TV, and I won't have Apple TV. So I'm wondering why it's not other ways to watch this. And I went looking for information yesterday because I thought this would be something that would be on like Max, with it being like a legendary WB property or something like that, just like the King Kong movie and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Came out on HBO Max, like, you know what I'm saying, day and date. But from the information that I found out, which I really think is going to be a issue for ratings for this show, I feel like, because I really don't, I feel like Apple TV has a lot of people that check with it, but I don't think they have as many followers as other, you know what I'm saying, subscribers to other streaming services. But when I was looking yesterday, I found out that the reason why this is on Apple TV is because it's shot in a 3D format that is like compiled to the capabilities of that friggin' $4,000 headset that Apple is making. So it's shot to look the best in that Vision OS type software. So that's the reason why it's on Apple TV, which makes no sense for me, because you could, to me, put it on Apple TV so you can have that, because how many people, I'm not going out and buying a $3,500 headset to watch anything that's not X-rated. So I really feel like putting it on multiple platforms would have did better for this show, because I'm highly interested in the Monarch side of this world, because we always got mentions of Monarch, but never really got into the background of what's going on and that lore of Monarch being around, and maybe the reason the monsters are, maybe the reason that Godzilla's got to save us is because Monarch is riling up all these other monsters and different stuff like that. Like that's always interested me. Even trying to understand how Monarch worked in the background of like the classic Godzilla movies that made no sense at all. I'm just really trying to see that. And them putting this on Apple TV is not going to make me purchase Apple TV to watch it. And this is when bootlegging happens.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like, I don't have Apple TV. I never really had plans on getting Apple TV, but I do hear that Apple TV does have some pretty good series. If you do have Apple TV, you're probably usually satisfied with some of the shows that they have on there. But yeah, I do wonder if that will affect the amount of people that get the opportunity to check that out. Because yeah, you're not the only one that certainly asked that same question. Because yeah, Christopher Throbbins says, why is this on Apple instead of Max? I definitely expected this to be on HBO Max, but now that it isn't, we'll see. Maybe it is something I'll have to end up downloading just to watch or review for us at some point in time. But I think for me, what really stands out, I kind of dig the idea that this takes place after the 2014 Godzilla movie. It does mention in here, it says the siblings' research eventually leads them to Army Officer Lee Shaw, played by Wyatt Russell, as a young man in the 50s, and Kurt Russell in the show's present, which is set after the events of 2014's Godzilla. You mentioned the idea of Monarch. I don't want to say there felt like there was a big gap, but there clearly was a jump in time from the end of the Godzilla movie to when we get to something like King of the Monsters, right? And you see that Monarch has a lot of these creatures kind of already captured, or at least looking at them and experimenting type of thing. So I would kind of like to see the building blocks of that. After the events of a 2014 Godzilla movie, where does the world kind of go from here? Where do things start being set up to us to get to the point of King of the Monsters? So I definitely do think that there's a lot of material in here, and really looking forward to it. Again, I'm a big fan of Wyatt Russell. I think he's doing some really good things right now, especially in the MCU. I can't wait to see him even more as U.S. agent. But the fact that they managed to get him and his father to play the same character just generations apart, I think is as clever as it certainly comes, man. So I'm looking really forward to this. I really am. But look, guys, let us know your thoughts. Any final thoughts on the Monarch show? All right. No. All right. So yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. At the end of the day, these are just our A+ opinions, but we want to know yours. I'm sure we got some Godzilla fans out there for sure. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. Going from, I guess you can say, one Godzilla character to the next, from Godzilla to Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's in the news this week as he's set to go ahead and play his upcoming Kraven the Hunter. He had the opportunity to sit down with Esquire magazine this week and talk a little bit about some of his upcoming roles. Now, you guys know when it comes to Sony movies, it takes a lot to certainly get me excited for their films. But Kraven the Hunter wound up dropping a brand new a trailer a couple of months ago that definitely piqued my interest and certainly got my attention. And now that Aaron Taylor Johnson is kind of doing the rounds and talking about his upcoming movie, I've been thinking it's pretty fascinating, some of the things and ideas that are coming out of this. So Esquire magazine had the opportunity to not only sit down with Aaron Aaron Taylor Johnson, but also the director of the upcoming Kraven the Hunter movie. And they give us some pretty interesting tidbits as to what this movie can certainly encapsulate. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Let me go ahead and pull this up. This is from, I believe this article is from comingsoon.net. They do have themselves, this says Kraven the Hunter director describes the Marvel movie as a tragedy. And you guys know I've never really been the biggest fan of some of the idea of like making these villains turning themselves into kind of anti-heroes. But the fact that they're referring to this as a tragedy is pretty eye-opening. It does say here that he was the director was speaking to Esquire, so there's a part of me that wants to go to the Esquire article itself to get some of these tidbits of information. And I think there's a couple of things in here as well, especially Aaron Taylor Johnson's approach to doing these big sort of comic book movies, if you will. Let me see if we can find some really great stuff for us to sink our teeth into. Because he does talk. Okay, so he says centering that part of his life meant saying no a lot, something that he says he began doing about a decade ago when it comes to picking out his scripts. It says not long after he first broke through and began getting cast in the kinds of movies that can lead to even bigger movies if you're not careful. He says there was Kick-Ass, and then there was Godzilla and Avengers, and all of those things lined up for me, but I didn't really care for them, is what he says. He says he was getting offers to do more of that stuff for more money. He was up for roles that nobody knows about, big, huge franchises that were in play. But by then, he and Sam had 2 small children. The decision not to keep going down that blockbuster road wasn't hard. He says, I wanted purely to be with my babies. I didn't want to be taken away from them. I battled with that. What that would be like. Looking back, he says, I would say I was probably not ready to be in that position anyway. It was way too early, but yeah, I also slightly didn't give a F. He says, so for a while, he did only 1 movie a year, supporting roles and roles in smaller, weirder films, or both. So I found that pretty interesting, because if there's anything that I will say about his time in both Godzilla and in Avengers, I didn't really care for him in both of those movies. Like, I felt like those were some of his weaker performances. And so now kind of getting the opportunity to even see what his mindset was like, I didn't really care for them. It's almost like, yeah, I can tell, bro. I can tell the way that you came across on screen that you didn't necessarily care for them. But the fact that, he realizes the idea of being put in those movies was maybe way too early for him. Like maybe he looked at himself as not even that well of a developed actor to kind of be in those roles, to really make those roles properly shine the way that they were. So I kind of really enjoy sort of this self-reflection from Aaron Taylor Johnson. And he definitely gets a little bit more respect for me, the fact that he can be that honest about where his mindset was and really the importance of putting family over the opportunities that he certainly got. What do you think about that? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This answers a question that I had for a little bit. So, when Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson were in Kick-Ass together, because Kick-Ass 2 came out very, very close to when Avengers and X-Men Days of Future Past were coming out. I always kind of wondered, hey, they were both probably cast as Quicksilver during the filming of this movie. Did they ever have like an argument between the two of them of who was going to be the better Quicksilver? But after kind of like hearing this, probably not. It probably was just straight up, oh no, you're going to do better than me. I just don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if I don't even know if they even had conversations at that point, but yeah, we'll see. But I totally agree with you. It definitely does answer some questions for sure. And then he does go into talking a little bit about his time as Kraven, along with Bullet Train. And I think even his director had some big things to certainly say about him. Let's see.
I did really like him in Bullet Train, though. Like, if you tell me that that he didn't give a crap during the filming of that movie, I'll say he could have fooled me.
No, believe it or not, it definitely seems like he certainly dove completely into it. Let's go ahead and read this. This says, but Bullet Train was a Sony Pictures project, as is Kraven. He says, and when Kraven director J.C. Chander told Sony he wanted to make an origin story with a younger actor in the lead, a part that he had reportedly been offered over the years to everyone from Keanu Reeves to Adam Driver. The studio suggested the guy they'd been seeing in the dailies from the Bullet Train film. He says, when a guy can hold up his end of the tennis match with Brad Pitt, he says, you should pay attention. And Stuart, and that's one of the things that I think we've talked about, is that despite the fact that I didn't really care for Aaron Taylor Johnson in any of these other movies that I've seen him in, Bullet Train was probably the first film that I was like, wow, like this guy is pretty talented. Like he can definitely hold his own. So the fact that even the director, J.C. Chander, is like, you need to be paying attention to this dude, I think speaks volumes, because I do think it really does show what Aaron Taylor Johnson's capable of. You agree?
Yeah, definitely.
It also says Taylor Johnson thought the script had potential, but he wasn't sold until he started reading the comic books. He says Kraven started out as a blowhard big game hunter in leopard tights, one of the many self-important antagonists foiled again and again by Peter Parker. It says in 1987, though, a writer named J.M. DeMatteis took him somewhere different. Kraven is canonically Russian, born Sergei Kravenov. Thinking about Hemingway, the writer wrote one of the greatest Marvel stories of the era, Kraven's Last Hunt, in which Kraven fakes Spider-Man's death, assumes his identity, then spares his life, and finally commits suicide by rifle. It says Chandor's movie is set before Kraven and Spider-Man's first meeting. It's about young Sergei's relationship with his gangster father, played by Russell Crowe. But Taylor Johnson and Chandor both said the character's grim comic book fate defined their approach to the film. The director says, Sony probably doesn't want me to lead with this, but the story is a tragedy. When the final credits roll on this film, if you've been paying attention, you won't have the feeling that this is going to end great. And so I think that's pretty eye-opening, Stuart, in regards to the trajectory of what this film could potentially become. Considering that we kind of know Kraven's fate in the Spider-Man comics, and this takes place before the Spider-Man comic book moment. Clearly, he's not going to off himself at the end of this movie for it to be a tragedy, but clearly not a happy ending for this character. What do you make of that, though?
I do like that the director clearly does pay attention to the Kraven comic books, that he was able to reference, specific events. But like it being a tragedy, this does feel like something that the director should have waited until after the movie got released before saying. But I can also see why he did, because probably not the most hype. There's probably not a lot of hype for this, so I guess directors got to try to hook people in. However, but the way he describes it, it kind of reminds me of did you ever see the movie Whiplash
with J.K. Simmons and the
yes Yeah, so like the ending of that movie, it almost like looks like if you just walk in on that ending with no context to anything that came before it, it actually doesn't look like it's like that bad of an ending. Like it seems like everything just wrapped up perfectly neat. But then when you kind of think of the implications of what's going to be going on forward, and then all the themes that were brought up before, you realize that the main character is likely going to die, in his 40s of a drug overdose at some point, just like the I can't remember the musician they keep referencing. It's something Parker, but basically the same thing, where he also died of a drug overdose, essentially. So I feel like we could get an implication like that towards the end, and I think that's what he was alluding to, because he does say that you have to pay attention to the movie to know why the ending is a tragedy, and that's how I feel about a movie like Whiplash, to know why the ending is like not as happy as like you may think on the surface. You got to like actually really kind of pay attention to what they're talking about in the movie to get that. And I'm wondering if that's what he means with this.
Yeah, I definitely do think you're onto something there. I think the Whiplash is a really good comparison. It is one of those things like I do wonder like what happens not only with his father in this movie, what happens to his brother in this movie, because I do think there clearly will be some sort of tragic event or just the events of this movie just leaving Kraven in the place where he's just deep in it, you know what I'm saying? To get to that point of having to commit suicide at some point in your life, like there's got to be a bunch of dominoes that have kind of fallen, right, to kind of just kind of put you in that mindset. And I am kind of curious as to the events of what will happen to him or to people that he loves or cares about that makes him eventually have that mentality of maybe eventually getting to that point. So I do think that there are some interesting dominoes to fall in this movie that would be pretty eye-opening. And honestly, Stuart, like that's kind of appealing to me for somebody that doesn't want this movie to end on like a happy note or like a, like, hey, everything's gonna be fine. Let's get ourselves a movie sequel. Like I really want them to fully flesh this story out and possibly lead to an eventual interaction between Kraven and Spider-Man somewhere down the line. But I love what I'm hearing from this. I think the fact that they both read Kraven the Hunter comic books and have that sort of level of understanding for the character. Like when I see Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven in the trailers, and he's as ferocious as he is, and he's literally biting off somebody's freaking nose, right? Like just as visceral as it gets. That lets me know that look, you're doing your homework. You're not afraid to kind of shy away from those type of moments when it comes to it. So I'm definitely expecting this to be a rated R movie. I would assume so. But they have my attention, Stuart, and I didn't think I would say that before, but I feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson, the director, saying everything I want to hear personally.
Oh yeah. The big thing, of course, that gets me worried, not only it being a Sony project, but also who they have writing this. So it's Matt Holloway and Art Markham. I think that's how it's pronounced. Now, here I'm just going to read off the movies that they have written before, and
Sure.
one of them may not sound that bad, but hear me out. Hear me out. So Iron Man, okay, not a bad start, right? But then they also did Punisher Warzone. I haven't seen, but I know it has like kind of lower reviews compared to the other Punisher movies. The worst I actually would say this is probably the worst film of all time. Honestly, I would honestly put it up there. Transformers: The Last Night.
Oh God.
Men in Black International.
No.
Not one
that
of
was
the
on
worst films
screens
of all
for like
time,
2 weeks.
but definitely a bad movie.
That
Not
was the Chris
worst,
Hemsworth
but
one,
bad.
right?
Yeah,
And Tessa
exactly.
Thompson. Okay.
Yeah. And then Uncharted, okay, not the worst movie, but not a good one. And okay, so I mentioned Iron Man, which may add a little bit of positive light to it, but keep in mind, while Iron Man, was pretty good in the final product, it didn't have a completed script when they were filming it. Much of the really, memorable lines and moments that we get were improvised. We got lucky with Iron Man that Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau were a very talented team. If it was just the script they were relying on, it would have been a terrible movie. So, yeah. That's what worries me about this. It sounds like the director knows what he's doing. It sounds like the director is really excited for this. So hopefully between him and Aaron Taylor Johnson, they may have another Iron Man on their hands in the sense of, this isn't the best script, but we know how to work around it. We know what to change, like, with improving and that kind of stuff. But that's the big thing that doesn't give me a lot of hope.
Well, in the article, we literally just read the idea that he had read the script and wasn't sold on it until he started reading the Kraven comics. So it does make me wonder if he's like, the script isn't that strong, but maybe I can help elevate it if I know how to play this character right. And so you might be right? Like maybe because they have the actor and they have the director that's familiar with this character, maybe there are some liberties that they can take to kind of make the script a little bit stronger. But the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson like was not immediately sold, like I gotta play this character. I mean, yeah, I guess that kind of does bring up a little concern and worry about how strong the script might be. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Aaron Taylor Johnson and the director know what they're doing here.
Yeah, for sure.
What's up, Jab in the house? What's up, man? Let's see here. What else we got? Marcelino says, I'm excited for the spinoff that will come out of Kraven the Hunter called That's So Kraven. That was a good one. Nathan, I don't know if he's laughing at us or Marcelino's comment, but the That's So Kraven was pretty great. Marcelino says, you guys always forget that Aaron Taylor Johnson was Kick-Ass. That was his most popular film and the one who made him popular. No, we commented on it in the article. It did mention that he was Kick-Ass first, but I chose to highlight the ones that I didn't like him in, and that was Godzilla and what was the other movie? Oh, Avengers Age of Ultron. But yeah, I did like him as Kick-Ass. I thought he was great in that movie.
Oh yeah, I freaking love. I haven't seen that movie in a minute, but I used to love the first Kick-Ass movie, and then the sequel was pretty dumb.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I maybe watched the sequel once. Honestly, I don't even know if I finished the sequel. I just kind of fell off of it. I didn't really care for it too much. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts now that you're hearing what's coming from not only the director but Aaron Taylor Johnson in regards to how they're tackling Kraven the Hunter. This movie is going to be a tragedy. What does that do for you guys? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And if anything, Stuart, I think the idea of it being a tragedy might just leave a different taste in my mouth compared to what I've gotten from like Venom and the Morbius movies. So I'm hoping that mentality and changing sort of the formula of how Sony makes some of their movies when it comes to the Spider-Man universe. I'm hoping that's a great trajectory and taking it a little bit over the top. If they want to focus on changing things up for Kraven and Madam Web, I don't want to get my hopes up, man, but that sounds like two back-to-back enjoyable, possibly enjoyable movies there if they can pull it off.
Yeah, like I said last week, Kraven the Hunter is going to make or break my expectations for Madam Web. At this point, I think with Madam Web, I see a lot of potential, but it's also Sony, so I don't really expect him to live up to that potential. But if Kraven surprises me, then yeah, my hopes for Madam Web will go up.
So Rob says, do you think Kraven will be a franchise at this rate? Honestly, it sounds like this film is a standalone. I am kind of curious as to what his future might hold. I do think there's a lot of implications here. I mean, if the movie is successful, maybe not only do you get yourself a sequel, but there's a potential that maybe you become a Spider-Man villain for sure at some point in time, whether they end up using you in the MCU or Spider-Man in their Sony universe, who certainly knows. But you can't get, I will just say this. You can't get, well, I was going to say you can't give me a Kraven movie without a Spider-Man encounter. But look, you've also given me two Venom movies that I thought there's no way you can make a Venom movie without giving me a Spider-Man encounter. And these two have yet to even see each other. So,
but do you remember my Madam Web theory about that?
Well, give it to me one more time for people that missed it.
I think because it looks like it's a time travel movie where everyone's going after basically baby Peter Parker and Ben. I think it's going to be that the only place that Peter is safe is in another universe. So Peter gets taken out of the Sony universe and into the MCU, not knowing where he came from. And then that's where he gets raised by Aunt May, essentially, and grows up to be the Tom Holland Spider-Man of the MCU. Ooh. And I think in Madam Web, we're going to get that reveal that and that'll probably be how in Spider-Man 4 they're able to transport him back into the Sony universe, because he's going back to the universe he belongs to now. That's my theory on how they're going to wrap up Spider-Man's run in the MCU. It's going to turn out that he was never part of the MCU originally. He was always part of that Sony universe, and so that Sony universe will finally have a Spider-Man afterwards.
Yo, I love it. I love the theory, bro. I love it. That to me, I feel like that could make some really cool sense if they wanted to pull the trigger on that. So we'll see how it turns out. But Madam Web looks promising. Kraven the Hunter is certainly coming around in its own. We'll see how it goes. But I love that theory. Somebody clip that theory and see if we'll play that in a year or two when Madam Web drops. All right, guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on the Kraven the Hunter film in the comment section box below, guys. Marcelino says, unleash the Kraven memes. AJ says, I'm seeing Blue Beetle today. Oh my gosh. Enjoy, man. Nice. Enjoy. And let me know your thoughts. All right, with that story out of the way, let's move on to our next story. We'll stick in the realm of MCU as look, I feel like we've been talking about this over the past couple of weeks. Excuse me, guys, I'm flubbing over my words today. But the Marvels is back in the news. This movie is still quite a bit of ways away. This movie isn't dropping until November, but Marvel is getting an early push kind of on this marketing and promotion because they're still getting some play over in Total Film Magazine as they wind up coming out this week. Some of the cast members over there, this is from Games Radar, says the Marvels team says the movie will likely have big implications for the upcoming Avenger films. I don't think that should be a surprise to anybody, but I thought it was pretty insightful, some of the information that we wind up getting out of this. So let's dive into the upcoming sequel for Captain Marvel here. Again, this is from Total Film, but I believe their website for their articles is gamesradar.com. This is an exclusive. It says the Marvel filmmakers talked to Total Film magazine about the sequel sets up opportunities for the MCU future. Let's see here. It says it all ties to an artifact in villain Dar-Ben's possession, the second bangle that forms a pair with the one that Kamala Khan wears. And we see that second bangle in the trailer. It says Kamala's bangle unlocked her latent mutant powers, but one of the questions hanging over the conclusion of Miss Marvel was around the location of the second bangle. Now we have our answer. The director says you'll get enough of the story of how and why Dar-Ben has acquired the bangle. I think one of the executive producers says that's revealed early on. They say in Miss Marvel, we learn that the bangle paired with some other form of power can force a temporary hole in space and time to lead to somewhere else. With the power of both bangles is more is definitely possible. And we see the culmination of that over the course of this movie. It definitely leads to plentiful opportunities for the future of the MCU, whatever the Avengers and Secret Wars teams may want to do with them. It says the future of the MCU. Back in 2019, Captain Marvel was sowing its own seeds with Miss Marvel, WandaVision, Secret Invasion, and more growing out of those kernels. It stands to reason that the Marvels is similarly planting acorns for upcoming MCU oak trees, including the Avengers team-up movie that is set to conclude the multiverse saga. So Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. How does the Marvels fit into the bigger picture? This is what the director says. That's a question for Kevin Feige. I have lots of thoughts, but I actually have no idea what they're going to do in the Avengers movies. I do know that those guys who are doing that watch the films. So what we're doing, they see what we're doing. I have things I really want to happen, but I'm not sure. They also say that the Marvels primarily explores the ramifications of Carol Danvers' actions in the main universe, but adds that the plot deals with some fluctuations in time and space, and there's definite danger afoot that could affect the multiverse. Where it all leads is a bit of a spoiler, and exactly how it all pans out in an Avengers movie is currently being figured out right now, but we're definitely ending our characters in places that allow for plentiful opportunities. So yeah, definitely talking big about the impact that this upcoming movie could potentially have. Stuart, a couple things here. One, the fact that they mentioned that this the answering the question of how they come into possession of the Bengals, what the second Bengal certainly does. They do mention the idea that that's going to be focused on pretty early in the film. For me, that kind of implies that this might be like the intro scene that we get. Maybe Dar-Ben's already kind of on an exploration voyage looking for him, and she winds up coming across them and activating them, and then thus maybe putting us into that the gimmick or the storyline of our Marvels swapping powers and things like that. So I do think a lot of this will probably be explained relatively early on. If there is anything out of this article, though, that I think stands out to me, It's probably the executive producer here when she says, in Miss Marvel, we learn that the bangle paired with some other form of power can force a temporary hole in time and space to lead somewhere else. With the power of both bangles, more is definitely possible. And we see the culmination of that over the course of this movie. It definitely leads to plentiful opportunities for the future of the MCU. Whatever the Avengers and Secret Wars teams may want to do with them. I am interested and fascinated the fact that she didn't necessarily like explain it as the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars movie. The fact that she calls it the Avengers and Secret Wars. Part of me is starting to feel like Kang Dynasty really is going to turn into sort of like a new Avengers team, because I think the fact that she refers to it as Avengers instead of Kang Dynasty makes me think that maybe its real focus is the idea of bringing together some of these brand new characters that we have, and initializing what I think some of us might have thought as like the Young Avengers, but maybe sort of a new Avengers team here, it being kind of the big focus. So I did find it interesting that she described those two Avenger movies as differently as she certainly did. But I could easily just be reading into it a little bit too much. But I am fascinated to see how these Bengals certainly do play a significant role going forward. I'm still on the fence thinking that maybe Shang-Chi pops up in here a little bit. I was just watching the post-credit scene of Shang-Chi again, where we get the opportunity to see Bruce Banner along with Captain Marvel in there, as they're kind of examining the I was going to say the bracelets, but the rings of Shang-Chi. So I do wonder if there's an even bigger scope kind of going on here, not with just the bangles, but clearly maybe a connection between the bangles and the rings themselves. But you hear what the director and the writers had to say about this. What jumps out to you, if anything?
Just like the biggest thing is the fact that she's planting a lot of seeds, and the seeds aren't necessarily things that like have to be used, like aren't necessarily required to be used for future Avengers movies or just future Marvel movies in general. I think that's going to be kind of cool to see what they decide to do with it. Gives future writers of future Marvel projects a lot more flexibility, essentially. And I think what you mentioned about Shang-Chi possibly having a connection with it as well. I don't see him showing up in the movie per se, but I do see him showing up in like at either a post credit scene or like a mid credit scene or something like that. Even probably just at the very end of the movie, to tease like the next adventure for either him or for Miss Marvel. So I definitely see that as a huge possibility. But again, I do like that they're trying to plant the seeds, but not write themselves into any corners. Just like we have these elements that you can use later on in future products, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that if anything, with I want to say with all the changes that are happening, but I would assume that Marvel Studios right now, well, I guess they can't right now because they do have themselves a writer's strike, but probably will be coming up with an idea of like how to change course a little bit.
Mhm.
With people feeling Phase 4 being rather lackluster. Even Bob Iger coming out and talking about, look, we're putting out way too much content, whether that be movies and television, kind of all at once. I definitely do think there certainly needs to be a step kind of taken back. And listen, we also, big elephant in the room, the whole Jonathan Majors thing is still kind of ongoing, right? He does have a court case that's coming up here in September. When that's going to be resolved, who certainly knows? But we do have ourselves a Loki season 2 that's still set to drop regardless. And if things don't necessarily go Jonathan Majors' way, Secret Wars, not Secret Wars, but Kang Dynasty is probably going to have to be rewritten in some way, shape, or form. So I will be interested to see like sort of what layups the Marvels winds up leaving for the remainder of the writers for Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty to kind of go from here, because I'm sure that some of these characters will definitely have big implications kind of going forward, whether or not Miss Marvel or even Monica herself are part of the new Avengers team. Definitely feels to be leading to that point at some point in time. But we'll see where the Marvels leaves us. But I am excited for this film. I like Nia DaCosta as a director. I'm a big fan of the trio of women in here. I think they could definitely carry this film. It really is going to come down to the execution of the story and how different, if anything, this feels from your more traditional comic book movies. You know what I mean?
Hmm. If I were the, Marvel production team, what I would probably do is have the very last episode of Loki, have Kang basically just be able to change his face throughout the multiverse. So each version of him is played by a completely different actor. That way, when it comes to Kang Dynasty, because obviously you're definitely gonna have a prime Kang. That's gonna be the Kang of all Kangs, pretty much. I would basically leave it up in the air, just have it be completely based on how the court case goes with Jonathan Majors, and have that be the definitive factor on whether or not they use him as Prime King in Avengers Dynasty. That way, you're not completely writing him out. You still have him as potential if everything turns out good and it turns out that he's innocent. But if it turns out that he's guilty, easy to write him out. And you've already explained why he's been written out in Loki.
Yeah, I would be interested to see how they would execute something like now that they have already introduced us to the court of Kangs. We've seen Jonathan Major's face everywhere
Yeah.
in that particular scene. So I would be interested to see how they go about reworking something like that. But like you said, you never know. A Loki season 2 could certainly be an opportunity for that. But I do think Marvel's keeping their plans kind of close to the chest until things are kind of figured out, whether it be the strike that's happening or Jonathan Major's court case. But I am hoping that the Marvels does a great job of setting us up for some great stuff when it comes to the upcoming Avenger movies. But let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below about what you think of the news from the Marvels. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Let me see. Marcelino says some people said that they should replace Kang with a new villain like Maestro. That's always an opportunity. Marcelino says, I think Secret Invasion should have been an Avengers film, establishing the new Avengers with all the heroes that Phase 4 set up. Me, not so much. I mean, that's cool if you would have loved to have seen that, Marcelino. I still think Secret Invasion 1, I would agree with you, should have been a film. I don't necessarily know if it should have been an Avengers film, but I do think it being a movie probably would have helped it out tremendously. It was just I don't know if I would have used it as a launching point for Avengers, though. What about you, Stuart? If you were to turn a Secret Invasion into a film, how would you tackle it?
I would have tackled it similar to how the show did it. Like, I love the idea of taking a franchise like Secret Invasion and making it a spy espionage, but I would have just had a very different writing team behind that. I don't know. It was just the slow pace, the bad writing that kind of like ruined it for me. I thought it was very well shot, so I would have kept like the same people that did that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just underwhelming. It just felt
it
very
was.
lackluster. I think they had some great moments for sure. I thought the first 3 episodes were relatively strong. I just think it ended just very, very weak, unfortunately.
I would
Um,
have also tried to have at least a couple more Avengers in there as scrolls, only to
yeah,
give Nick Fury a better excuse for not going to the Avengers for help. Because I think the excuse they went with, which is Nick Fury being like, "Well, it's my fault this is happening, so I have to be the one to fix it." It's like, oh wow, so you're going to put the entire world in danger because you feel kind of guilty. You know, I thought that was just so dumb.
yeah, I thought it was
I
pretty dumb
think
too.
yeah, they should have really shown like how we really didn't know who was a scroll and who wasn't. And that's why like he really didn't know who to trust. But unfortunately, I think they just failed it in that aspect. And
Yeah, like
yeah.
the opening sequence of Secret Invasion when you've got, Ross there, right? And the guy, was like, I have something to tell you, right? And he's like breaking this shit all down. I'm like, oh, this is such a cool conspiracy theory and shit. We're gonna get into all this espionage stuff and who's a scroll, who's a not. And I just don't think they executed it and didn't really add kind of like the big stakes that I felt a Secret Invasion storyline really should. I mean, we got some cool reveals, but I felt like there should have been a little bit more, right? Like when you
Yeah.
when you find out that there are a million scrolls on planet Earth, like that should have had more airtime than just like a 2-minute clip of a conversation between him and Talos. Like that should have been like, what the are we gonna do? You know, like I just felt like it should have been a much bigger threat than what it felt like. Even though, look, they were doing terrorist plots in Secret Invasion, so it definitely did have some impact. But it just fell to the wayside for me, unfortunately. I just don't know what happened, but yeah, maybe a movie would have done it a little bit more justice.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Then you wouldn't have had the anticipation every week for something cool to finally happen, only for
Right.
something not to happen.
Yeah,
So even if it
pacing would
was
have
like,
been better.
yeah, exactly. Pacing would have been much better.
But all right, guys, let us know
The-
your thoughts though.
Sorry, the one last thing I'll say is the whole thing with Ross being a scroll. So very beginning when that happened, I actually thought that makes sense because he's wanted from the government. So of course he's currently hiding in Wakanda, which means that he's easy to replace. And then the very ending, when it turns out he's been taken by the scrolls, I'm just like, what? When was this? Why? Why was this? And like, my question is, okay, so if he was taken
Yeah, when
before
was he
the
taken?
events, yeah, if he was taken before the events of Black Panther 2, why did he bother helping out the Wakandas? He has no attachment to them. And if he was taken after the events of Black Panther 2, how? That
Yeah,
needs to be explained. You can't just like drop that on us like it's nothing. Like that has I have so many questions. Rhodey being a scroll since the events of Civil War made sense to me. That was actually a really, really big, like kind of cool reveal. But with Ross, that made no sense to me at all.
the only thing I will say about Rhodey being taken taken at Civil War, like I don't mind that at all. It does make me now have to, they do say like, hey, maybe you'll have to go back and watch it and see type of thing. He just felt so drastically different in this series compared to anything else I've seen Rhodey in. Like Rhodey was such a big dick in this series, especially to Nick Fury, that it's like almost obvious that this dude is a Skrull. You know what I mean? When you watch the series, and so the fact that he doesn't act like that in any other movie, is like, did you guys plan this the entire
No,
time? Or
they
you just
definitely
making shit
didn't.
up? And that's the problem, Stuart.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? Like this, it used to be so connective up until phase 4, and then after that it just feels like they're just riding by the seat of their pants, not really necessarily planning this stuff out. Because look, if you want somebody to be a scroll, you gotta set up those points along the way. That's like they're acting kind of fishy, maybe not recognizing at first, but for it to kind of all come together, it's just like, man, this was just not well thought out, bro.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It clearly was not planned out at all. When you go back to Infinity War and Endgame, he doesn't act
He
anything
doesn't
like he
act like
does
that.
in Secret Invasions. He acts like the same Rhodey that we had from Civil War and all the movies before that.
Yeah, so this Secret Invasion, Rhodey was just a dick. But let us know what you guys thought about Secret Invasion. Sorry, we got on a little bit of a tangent there from
Yeah.
our time talking about Miss Marvel or the Marvels. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Let's just dive into our next one. We are going to transition over to more movie talk for you guys, as we have ourselves a brand new rumor. Now, look, I know a lot of people are probably tired of these damn Disney live action remakes, but they make money, Stuart, and they're back at it right now. And listen, this is actually a Disney film I have not seen at all in animated
Really?
form. I have not seen this movie, and that is The Princess and the Frog. This one, I don't want to say was off my radar. I think I was just I was just a little bit older and I didn't necessarily care to check out some Disney animated stuff at the time. But this comes to us from Comic Book Resources. This is a rumor now, nothing confirmed, but it says live action Princess and the Frog remake, possibly eyeing Lupita Nyong'o. And I absolutely love Lupita Nyong'o. Wasn't she in that Jordan Peele movie? Was it Us? I believe that's what it was, right? I believe it was
Yeah.
she was in that movie. She was just in the Black Panther films as well. Lupita Nyong'o is extremely talented, and there are rumors that they are eyeing her for this. It says a new rumor has emerged, stating that Disney wants award-winning actor Lupita Nyong'o to play Tiana. in the live-action remake of the 2009 animated hit The Princess and the Frog. According to a trusted scooper, Nyong'o is being eyed by Disney to play the lead role. It says, while some Disney fans might think Nyong'o, who at the time of this writing is 40 years old, is a bit too old to play a 19-year-old. Another trusted source known as Can We Get Some Toast chimed in, stating that Disney is definitely changing the story if they want Nyong'o for Tiana. It says she has a long history in starring in Disney productions as well. She voiced Maz Kanata in Star Wars sequel trilogy and Raksha in the Jungle Book film as well as plays Nakia in the Black Panther movie. So she definitely has her connections to Disney for sure.
I'll say this, that you could have fooled me. While yeah, I definitely bought her as a mother in the movie Us. When I see her in the Black Panther movies, like I get college age vibes from her. I didn't know she was 40 years old. To me, maybe she couldn't pull off 19, but I think if you have her like in her early 20s, I could buy that, honestly.
It's just because black don't crack, Stuart. You know, people don't think I'm 40 years old. People still think I'm in like my late 20s. Even though they see all this damn gray hair on my chin, that's from having a baby or being a father now. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I personally didn't think that she was 40 years old. When I read the article, I was like, 40? Ain't no way she's 40 years old. But yeah, she's 40 years old. So yeah, I would be interested. Look, I didn't know what the original story was, unfortunately, for the Princess and the Frog. But if they want to take their liberties and change it, be my guest. I'm kind of curious if she is the same character, but maybe her character has had a daughter of her own, a child of her own, sort of thing, passing the mantle down. I really have no idea. But I do think that Lupita is not only incredibly gorgeous, but she still looks young enough to where if they just wanted to up the age of the princess a little bit more and kind of change the story to kind of fit her role, I totally agree with you. I think she can play a college age kind of princess if she absolutely needed to. So I'll be interested to see what liberties they take with this film. But look, you can't go wrong with getting great actor, and she's definitely one of them. So I think she'll definitely bring her A game. How did you like the original animated film?
I really enjoyed it. I've only seen it once back in high school. That was when it came out. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. But I'll say this, as I'm pretty sure I've made clear on the channel, I've been getting really tired of a lot of the Disney live action remakes. I actually didn't even bother seeing the Little Mermaid. I'll probably check it out at some point on Disney Plus, but it's just been so low under my radar. And same with Pinocchio. I haven't even though it's been on Disney Plus this whole time, I haven't even bothered just because it feels like the biggest issue I have with these live action Disney remakes is they want to be a shot for shot recreation of the original, but then they make these minor changes thinking that it won't be a big deal, except for those minor changes they make. What they don't realize is that they come from really short movies. So everything in those short movies kind of mattered. So when you take Aladdin and you basically get rid of the opening scene from Aladdin that really established his character, showed us what kind of person he was, and you just, change it because you want to have a more upscale kind of chase scene, you ruin the establishment of his character. You ruin that whole aspect of it that made the original Aladdin so good. So things like that these movies are constantly doing, it's just been really annoying me. And I'll say this with Princess and the Frog. Everything I enjoyed about that movie was the animation factor of the movie. If you try to make this one exactly like the original, it's going to look so terrible on the big screen because what works so well about it was it being an animated film. The villain, for example, I love the villain in Princess and the Frog, but that's because you could only get that kind of zaniness from a cartoon character. If you try to recreate that in live action, it's gonna be honestly, it's probably gonna come off as offensive. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I don't know. it's why I'll probably wait until the trailer before I make up my mind of how I feel about this. But yeah, it's either going to have to be a completely different movie or you're going to make a really, really terrible film.
It does say so the original film is set in 1920s New Orleans. It's the 49th Disney animated feature film. It follows a hardworking waitress named Tiana, who dreams of opening her own restaurant. After kissing a prince who has been turned into a frog, Tiana becomes a prince herself, a frog herself. And must find a way to turn back into human form before it's too late. The voice cast also include. Okay, so she's a frog in most of this movie.
Yeah,
She's not even like a real person.
no, yeah, that's the thing. Like, the Princess and the Frog is a story that exists within the movie itself. So when the prince gets turned into a frog, his assumption is, hey, if I just kiss this princess, I'll turn back to normal,
That's
just like in the
right.
book. So he kisses Tiana, but then doesn't realize that Tiana wasn't a princess, so it causes her to get turned into a frog as well.
Damn. So does she then have to find a prince to kiss her to turn her back to her regular self?
I think I can't remember. It was like they both had to go through their own character development, and that was what turned it back to normal, if I remember correctly. I think what was the plan was that the prince was going to actually kiss the princess, so he could turn back to normal, and thinking that it should reverse the spell on both of them, but it was too late by the time he did it, and so I think it was like, oh, we learned our lesson, so now we're back to normal type of. I think it was one of those type of endings.
I mean, I just
It's
look,
been quite a minute since I've seen it.
while I like Lupita Nyong'o, I didn't really care for her doing voice work as Maz Kanata. I mean, I think you could have gotten anybody to do Maz Kanata, but I don't want to see Lupita Nyong'o as a frog. Like I don't like you can't hide her as a voice actress for a frog in here. Like I want to see her as like herself. You know what I'm saying? Like she's such a beautiful actress and so talented. Like I want to see that performance kind of on screen. So I'm hoping that it's not the case of like, yeah, she's gonna be a frog for like half this movie. I would rather much them change the story if that's the case, to give us something a little bit different there. But again, I haven't seen the movie itself, so I can't really judge the original. But maybe it's something I'll have to check out then, most definitely before I check out that movie.
Yeah. And on top of that, I didn't like The Lion King with their photorealistic
Mm.
kind of portrayals with animals, and that's exactly what they'll do if they
You
go
thinking
in
for
that
this frog?
direction. They'll Because it's Disney, they're not going to go back. They're not going to go back to the more cartoony, aesthetically pleasing looking animals. They're going to like try to keep one upping the quality. So it's like I don't
So it'll be
want to
like a
see that. I don't
real.
want to see
It'll be
all
like, yeah, so it'll be like a real looking frog, but maybe with like
exactly.
Lupita's eyes. Like
Yeah.
something weird. Like I don't want to see
I don't
that.
want to watch that,
I don't want to watch
for
that.
for a whole full length feature. That
No,
just
me either.
that doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Marcelino does say, did you hear the son of the OG Snow White director has lambasted the remake? He called it a woke and pathetic remake that disrespects the original and says that his father and Walt would back him up. Yeah, I have heard him come out and just shit all over Disney for their Snow White. I
Wait,
haven't.
when did they make a Snow White remake? I didn't even know that was out.
Yeah, oh, it hasn't dropped yet.
Oh,
Rachel Zegler, I believe, is playing Snow White. And they switched out the dwarves because I guess they thought they were going to be offensive to people, and instead they inserted like three like diverse magical characters or something like that. So they're kind of all over the spectrum, all over the place. I think even Peter Dinklage has come out and is just like, yeah, that's not what I meant, guys. Like, I think they probably
mhm.
could have done, like, you could still do the dwarves if you wanted to with little people or little persons. However, I don't know what the political correctness for them is, but I do think you could still do that, but just in a very tasteful sort of way. But Disney was just like, we're not going to do it at all. We're going to just switch this up and make this a complete different remake. And apparently, the son of the Snow White director has some feelings about it, feeling like that Walt Disney and his father will be pissed about the remake here. So I don't know. Maybe he's drinking a little bit too much Kool-Aid. Maybe some people will say he's got the right idea, but I haven't even seen it. Honestly, it's not even a movie I care for. I
Mhm.
like Snow White for me was an animated film I've maybe seen a couple times as a kid, but it wasn't like a classic that I just beloved. You know what I mean? So I really have no no intention of even really caring about it outside of me just really liking Rachel Zegler as an actress. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, Disney loves continuing to make their live action remakes. We'll see what happens with The Princess and the Frog. And I think looks like Marcelino would agree with you. He says, I love the animated Princess and the Frog. I thought it was great, but it only works in animation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe they'll definitely take their liberties for sure. All right, guys, and with that out of the way, we got one last topic that we want to talk with you guys about. This will probably go by relatively quick, but I guess you could say cult classic here, right, Stuart?
I'd call it a cult classic.
Definitely a cult classic that has inspired several different sequels from it. I can't remember the year in which it was made, but we've kind of talked about this, or at least brought this up maybe once or twice on honorable mentions. But the Toxic Avenger is back in the news, as we not only got ourselves some brand new posters, we got ourselves a cast announcement along with a cool little first look image here. But the remake for the Toxic Avenger is almost here. I believe it is in fact set to be debuted at an upcoming film fest here in September sometime, so right around the corner. I'm not sure what the actual release date is, but let's go ahead and dive into this article here, Stuart. Maybe it'll give us some further details, but this comes to us from Bloody Disgusting's website. The Toxic Avenger remake first image previews the next evolution of Troma's hero. And I'll go ahead and pull up this image for you guys. It says, get ready to meet Winston Goose in the Toxic Avenger remake, which will have its world premiere at this year's Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas, September 21st through the 28th. It says a horrible toxic accident transforms downtrodden janitor Winston Goose into a new evolution of hero, the Toxic Avenger. This is a fresh take on the Troma classic. It says the above image, as you guys can see here, teases a first look at the new Toxie, an appropriately named Winston Goose, plays by Game of Thrones star Peter Dinklage. While there's no release date just yet, expect that to follow soon after its Fantastic Fest debut. And then they gave us the teaser art, which you guys saw down below. But it says the 1984 original film revolved around a nerdy janitor, Melvin Furdo Junko, and his unwitting transformation into the toxic sludge hero. It's clear that Blair won't retell the same story as we know it, though. And it does also have, they did give us some names that are going to be here so people know who's going to be in there. Elijah Wood, Julia Davis, Taylor Page, Kevin Bacon, Peter Dinklage, and Jacob Tremblay lead the cast of the Toxic Avenger, being called a contemporary reimagining. It says Blair's take on the Toxic Avenger has been rated R for violence and gore, and it's aiming to please hardcore fans of the wacky Troma franchise. So yeah, man, a lot. It says this is from Deadline, I believe. It says a contemporary reimagining. The Toxic Avenger is steeped in environmental themes and subverts the superhero genre in the vein of Deadpool. When a struggling everyday man is pushed into a vat of toxic waste, he is transformed into a mutant freak who must go from shunning outcast to underdog hero as he races to save his son, his friends, and his community from the forces of corruption and greed.
His son, okay, that's very different.
Yeah, save his son, his friends, and his community. So yeah, man, Peter Dinklage is your Toxic Avengers, Stuart. What's your excitement level for this? Is that his mop?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
It's his mop and it's like glowing at the end there.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome. Love Peter Dinklage, and I love Toxic Avenger. I love Troma films in general. They're so bad, they're amazing.
Yeah, they are pretty bad.
Yes.
But in the best way possible.
Exactly. If you ever get a chance, if you ever want to watch one that's just it's so gross, and it's the most unhinged comedy like literally I have ever seen, check out Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
No, that's really a movie?
Yes.
Okay.
It is one of the grossest movies I've ever seen, but it's also like, oh my god, it's so funny. But yeah, no, going to this, I am so excited. I'm very curious how mainstream audiences are going to react with this kind of probably being their introduction into the Toxic Avenger. I'm very curious how much of like the wackiness and just overall just bizarreness of the original is going to be into this remake. I really hope, I'm glad that it's rated R and that it seems like they're not pulling any punches. So I really hope this is a movie that they just have a lot of fun with and they don't try to take themselves too seriously,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. It's been a while since I've seen a Toxic Avenger. I probably haven't watched it since I was a kid, and I know that says a lot. I probably shouldn't have even watched it as a kid. There's there's
Probably not.
there's plenty of times I remember watching it and just going like this, like I just couldn't. There was just so much on the screen, whether that was gore, violence, sex, boobs. I mean, it was just unhinged, bro. It was just over the top. But yeah, they definitely did not care. And this movie was pretty it was pretty interesting growing up as a kid and just seeing like just the prosthetics, the makeup work, just as gross as can be for the costume design, but it worked so incredibly well. I do remember picking up a couple of Toxic Avenger comic books back in the day, more so than actually watching the films themselves. But I'm interested. I think Peter Dinklage in this role makes it even that much more fascinating for me. But the fact that they are kind of bringing it to a more modern time should be pretty interesting. They are clearly keeping to the rated R that you mentioned. So I'm really interested to see like what the first reactions are going to be for this movie coming out of the Fantastic Fest. Again, that's going to be in late September, so we're probably about a month or so away. So we should kind of get an idea of what this movie is, even a little bit more about once people actually get the opportunity to see it for themselves. But that's really all we have right now in regards to Toxic Avenger stuff. Just the photo here, as you get to see the brand new poster. And then the names of some of the people that are going to be in here. Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood, an absolute win for me. But yeah, this is definitely going to be pretty trippy, Stuart. I think it's going to be pretty over the top.
Oh, I wish I was in Austin for Fantastic Fest. I hope, because we do tend to have some movies from Fantastic Fest come to the Alamo Draft House. So I'm like keeping my fingers crossed that this is one of those because I really want to get like an early look at this movie.
I wonder how one gets to attend Fantastic Fest. I am here in Texas. I have been wanting or thinking about taking the family out to Austin at some point in time. Maybe that would be maybe that would be a worthy reason to go. So maybe I'll look into seeing like how does one get tickets? Is there press passes like to do coverage for the event, to see some movies, maybe do some reviews for the channel and talk about some of the movies that we saw. I've never been to a movie festival before, but I kind of always want to go considering how much I love movies. I think it'd be pretty neat to get like first look stuff at stuff.
Yeah, I should try to see if you can get a press pass for that. That'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty awesome to cover that on this channel.
I'll look. I'll certainly do that this week. Now that my internet is back and working, maybe I'll try and do some stuff. I do want to go ahead and apply for Fan Expo San Francisco for you and your girlfriend to see if you guys can provide coverage. Fan Expo usually has some great talent and panels. I think there's even an LA con that's coming out. I might even see if I can get maybe even Datila to do a coverage for that event also, and for other people for our channel, so we can continue to add more content here on the YouTube page. But let us know, guys, what other content you personally would like to see here on the page. If you want me to try and go to Fantastic Fest, certainly go ahead and let me know. I think I might try and check it out anyway. But I'll keep you guys posted and let you know how things go. But other than that, Stuart, I think that will wrap up our main topics for the day. So thank you very much, everybody, for certainly joining us. And Stuart, I think you know what time it is.
It is time, everyone, for live your questions.
And we're going to get into your live viewer questions. Not sure how many people have submitted questions, but again, if you want to submit your question, it's relatively easy. Just go over to our main YouTube channel. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Just go over to our main YouTube channel page. Hit that community tab right there. Usually before the show on Sunday, sometime at the later half of the week, we'll drop a live viewer question post, as you see here. We'll tackle your questions. It looks like we got 8 today. So let's see how this goes, Stuart. All right. I did newest first, right? Yeah, newest first. All right. Good old Doomsday certainly coming through for us. Couple questions here. So we had a lot of different plot twists throughout Power Rangers, but I want to know, what's your favorite twist? Do you have a favorite Power Ranger twist, Stuart?
I think probably Dr. K turning out to be the one who created Vengeance.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty dope. That was a good one. That was a pretty good one. He also asked, do you think we'll still get Aquaman 2? Because we've had no promotional stuff, no marketing. We haven't even gotten a freaking trailer, and it's said to release December 2023. I honestly think had we not had a strike, we probably would have seen some promotional stuff already, I think. Maybe a teaser trailer, but like it's still in December. It still might be maybe a little bit too far away. Let me see. September, October, November, December. That's about 4 months. Maybe in September we might have got something like 3 months out. But as far as I know, Aquaman 2 is still happening. I don't think that they've moved it off of its release date yet. Have they, Stuart? Was that one of the releases?
As far as I know, it's still happening,
One of the
coming out the
delays?
same day. But
Okay.
it might be that they're in the process of shifting the release date, and that's why we haven't gotten a trailer because we got nothing coming out in 2024. So it is possible that Warner Brothers just really wants to put a DC movie out there that year so they can get some money. However, I hope they don't do this because I got so mad when they did it with Batgirl. But I do think it might be smart if they did a tax write-off if everything we hear about Aquaman 2 is true, which is, of course, it being like a production disaster. I hope they don't do that, though, because I don't think that's fair for the people that worked on the movie at all. Even though I'm not necessarily looking forward to this movie, it's not on my radar. I still, want to see it, or I still think it deserves to come out,
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that this will have a tax write-off. I think they've put way too much money into it to show their commitment to making this work. I think we've had like 3 sets of reshoots for Aquaman 2 already. So I think they're pretty determined to kind of make this, even if the rumors are true, to try and make this at least a watchable film as best as they could. But I don't necessarily know if I technically agree with those rumors, though, because I think they probably said the same things about the first Aquaman movie, and I ended up actually kind of enjoying the first
Oh, the
Aquaman
first
movie.
Aquaman movie is really
Um,
fun.
so we'll see how Aquaman 2 does, but I do think that you're right. I do think they might still be on the fence as to, do we want to release this still in December or do we want to push it out? But I'm very much under the impression, like, just get this out by the end of the year, guys. Like, let 2024 be sort of like that that reboot, if you will, in a sense of like allowing people to forget about the past DCU before introducing us to something in 2025. So as far as I know, Doomsday, it is in fact still set to drop. Peg C, he says, hey, Adam and company, hope you guys are doing well. A couple of questions. If DC didn't lose a trademark of the name Captain Marvel to Marvel, would Marvel still be able to have a character called Captain Marvel? Or would Marvel need to call their character something else?
I think the movie itself would have been called Shazam just to avoid marketing confusion, but I do think within the movie itself they would have called him Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the movie still would have been called Shazam. But I don't know. I don't know. I think is he called Captain Marvel still in DC Comics?
No, I think once they did their first reboot with the New 52, I think that's when they just dropped the Marvel name and just called him Shazam.
You know what? I think they probably would have just stuck with Shazam. I think they would have just avoided all the confusion in general and moved away from that, and just focused on Shazam. So yeah, I think they probably would have stuck with that anyway, unless there's something out there that says otherwise, that like, hey, we originally had planned to call this Captain Marvel, but realized we couldn't. You know what I mean? But so I think they probably would have stuck with Shazam.
Yeah, I do wish though we had like at least one line where Billy Batson was like, "Hey, I think I figured out what I'm going to call myself. What about Captain Marvel?" And then had one of them go, yeah, I think the Marvel comic books have already used that name."
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool if they actually called that out. What are your thoughts on the release date of September 29th of Power Ranger Cosmic Fury? I mean, I feel like that lines up pretty well with like release schedules for a lot of fall programming anyway. I think maybe some people probably would have liked to have had it in August for Power Ranger month, but I think it probably lines up more with like fall content release period. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just upset. I'm just sad about it because upset's the wrong word. I'm just disappointed because I thought we were getting it this month. I was under the impression that it was for sure coming out this month, but I guess not. So we'll, but yeah, I can wait one more month. It's okay. I can do it. I can wait. I can wait, Adam. I can wait. Okay, I'm not impatient. God.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. If who else we got here? Marcelino in Invincible season 1, episode 3. Oh, I think he asked this question about both the.
Oh yeah, but I wasn't able to answer it before because I'd kind of forgotten. But now it's kind of like coming back to me.
Okay, so he says, yeah, Invincible season 1, episode 3. Invincible and Adam Eve were fighting a villain, Doc Seismic, who was a woke SJW scientist destroying Mount Rushmore because the presidents were racist slave owners and was trying to prove a point. Many people who were advocates of diversity and more representation didn't find that scene offensive, but rather found it very funny. Did you share the same reaction when it first aired? I didn't find it offensive. I found it kind of funny, honestly. But
Yeah, same here. I think yeah, it's fun to make fun of when whether or not someone's intentions are good. There are people that take it way too far, and I think it's fun to point that kind of thing out. And the way they did it there was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think that was pretty funny. Arrow season 4 got a lot of hate because it focused too much on the relationship drama and not enough on superhero aspect. How is it that Legends of Tomorrow season 4 to 7 didn't get that same kind of hate? Those seasons went off the rails and completely deviated away from the superhero aspect, yet no one seemed to complain about it. Did the ratings go down for Legends of Tomorrow after they made that course, or did it stick there?
Well, as much as I really loved seasons two, season 2 was the one I really loved. Seasons 1 and 3, yeah, they were okay. I think the big reasons season 4 through 7 got a lot more love from more audiences was because they were still trying to figure out what kind of show they were in seasons 1, 2, and 3. They in season 2 they kind of figured it out, but they couldn't really couldn't keep up with the type of show they wanted to be. So, excuse me. Season 4, it had to just basically reinvent itself as a show altogether and was something completely different. And I think that was what drew audiences in, was like the new reinvention of itself that they had in season 4. And I think because seasons 1 through 3, no one was like really crazy about them. I think the big change, the big shift in season 4, it was easier for a lot of people to accept and enjoy it in more in that case. And that's how Legends ended up having the most consistent like following out of all the Arrowverse shows. Whereas like Arrow, a lot of people really loved the type of show that it was with seasons 1, 2, and 3. And season 4, like even though seasons 1, 2, and 3 were very positive for the most part, season 4 just reinvented itself as a show, became something very different. But when you do that with a show that had a really big fan base, unlike Legends, a lot of people loved Arrow. It upset a lot more people because it kind of changed what everyone loved about the show. Whereas like Legends, no one really loved Legends from the beginning. That's what I think it is.
So it had that flexibility to change up what it was.
Exactly.
I get you. I hadn't watched that much of Legends by that time anyway, so I can't really speak to that. But yeah, I was definitely one of those people that was not a fan of Arrow season 4. It's just like, man, bickering and back and forth. I hate you. No, I love you. Now I hate you again, but I really love you this time. And it was just, I couldn't do all the drama, bro. I
hated Felicity's in that season like, so much.
So much.
She was a great character in seasons 1, 2, and most of 3. I thought she was okay. I didn't like how jealous. I didn't like the jealousy aspect of her, just because I think jealousy is just annoying when you write that into characters. But God, season 4, she was just such an asshole. Like, I don't know what happened. And the worst part is, like, the writers were acting like she was in the right the entire time. And I'm just like, what are you talking about?
And then we have Blossom here. It says Power Rangers had so many different dimensions and planets all these years, right? How'd it be if the team Imaginatrix created their own planets? Interesting. Due to learning about space at school, they were assigned to create their own planets. The kids get so wrapped up in the assignment, their planets were brought to life with their powers. So that's actually kind of cool. I kind of dig that idea of them having powers and get so wrapped up in their assignments that their planets are brought to life. Just adding random planets to a galaxy, that would be pretty cool to kind of see like the impact that it has on the rest of the galaxy, honestly. So yeah, keep running with that, Blossom. Keep running with that.
Would it be like they're making their own planets from the scratch, or are they terraforming other planets? You know,
I see what you mean. Like planets out there, but then creating life on them, sort of thing, or like just creating like fucking Jesus, you know, not Jesus, but like not Jesus, but like just creating it out of thin air, sort of thing. That would be pretty interesting, also. Melissa Benoist, what's up, AJ? How dope was the news from Thursday that David Yost will be returning to Cosmic Fury as a series regular? Would you like to see Billy in Cranston Tech, since both Steve Cardenas and Jason Fountain mentioned at recent cons that the set for Cranston Tech was still up when Cosmic Fury was filming? Oh, that's interesting. I did not expect that. It's going to be so epic seeing Billy face off against Lord Zed again, with Billy as the Ranger's new mentor. My jaw dropped when David was included in the opening credits. While we know that Ollie will be evil, it would be very cool if we get a scene where Billy mentions the Rangers when Tommy himself was evil as the Green Ranger. Yeah, that might be some level of reassurance in that sense, right? Like if they're upset about the course that Ollie has gone because maybe he's been brainwashed again, has become evil, a good mentor to have, it's somebody that's got some reasoning and experience, will be like, look, I had this one friend named Tommy years ago that went down this route. We can save him, y'all. We can save him. I love that idea, AJ. Not sure if it will happen, but do you think Billy will reference great memories with Tommy as a tribute to JDF, considering his passing was during the filming of Cosmic Fury? I really like that in the split second of the opening credits, you see Billy piloting the Wolf Cosmic Fury Zord, which was a nice callback to MMPR Season 3. He says, I recall Simon Bennett on Twitter mentioning that there were some revisions to the script when they heard of the tragic news. I hadn't heard of the revisioning of the script, but Simon Bennett has teased just, more Easter eggs and, tie-ins to lore and things like that in Cosmic Fury. So I could easily see there being a reference to Tommy's character. What about you, though? Do you think we'll get that reference, considering the situation Ollie might find himself in?
Oh, I think it's very, very possible. And I'd actually be surprised if they didn't, if I'm being honest. Because, looking back at Once and Always, they kind of do the same thing in there. They bring up moments from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers similar to what was going on, in the events of that special. So it'd be very surprising if they didn't.
Who else we got here? Jessica Friedman. Do you think Superman and Lois season 4 will air this season or next season, depending on when the writer strikes ends? And with Billy coming back to Power Rangers, could this open the door for more past Rangers to come back to the series? So the first question, do you think Superman and Lois season 4 will air this season or next season, depending on where the strike is? They haven't even begun filming, right, Stuart?
I don't even think they've begun writing, because I don't think they're allowed to. At the most, like, maybe the writers over a cup of coffee are coming up with ideas, like, but I don't think they're writing them down. I think they're just like kind of brainstorming for fun. So I feel like we're in for a bit of a wait. I hope it doesn't take so long that they end up canceling it because of Superman Legacy. I think that'd be my only worry, is that Superman Legacy might start being in development. And because of that, James Gunn could be like, oh, hey, it's too close to Superman Legacy. We can't have two Superman at the same time. I hope that doesn't happen. Part of me is kind of worried about that. But yeah, it's going to be a minute, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they've already canceled some seasons that were already announced. I've been hearing like the Amazon series. I've never watched it, but A League of Their Own. There have been a couple of shows that have been promised additional seasons, that are like, don't worry, they're coming back. You're going to get at least one more season out of them as like that final season sort of thing. But now that the strike has happened, they've scrapped that idea. Like League of Their Own isn't getting a season 2 anymore after it's already been announced to be renewed. And I think that's already happened to like one or two other shows. So, Stuart, when you say the idea of Superman and Lois like just being canceled overall, I'm not even going to say that's out of the realm of possibility. Like I think that is an option that's maybe even up in the air. Because the fact that if they haven't even started writing season 4 and then you got to start filming season 4, like to me, this just feels like a fall 2024 release. Like I'm curious, could you get some episodes out by summer of 2024? And then is that going to be kind of like dispersed, like we get 5 new episodes and then we got to wait like 5 weeks as post-production on the episodes that aren't completed try and get completed, and then have like a couple episodes here and there drop that are new? I don't know, man. For me, if I was CW, I'd just be like, look, we'll just push it to the fall 2024 slate. But yeah, by that time, does anybody want a season 4? Is that just too much work at that point? Who knows? So I do think it's up for question right now, Stuart. But again, we haven't heard anything. That's just speculation on our part. But we'll keep you posted if anything changes for season 4. But as of right now, if no writing and filming has taken place, yeah, it'll be a while. It'll be a minute.
Yep.
And with Billy coming back to Power Rangers, could this open the door for more past Rangers to come back to the series? Well, they've already kind of hinted and teased Mick maybe coming back. I personally would really love a Charlie Kirsch returning as Min very briefly, even if it's just in a brief cameo. Maybe her and Walter Jones. Maybe there's a quick little shot of the 3 of them since they are technically family. Maybe at Cranston Tech or something like that. But who knows? If I had to choose, I'd say Min and Walter.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't know anybody else. What about you? Do you think we'll get anybody else outside of those 2 possibly, since this is a intergalactic sort of thing? Anybody from in space or Lost Galaxy you'd hope makes a return?
Oh man, if I got to choose, yeah, I would either go with Andros, Astronema, or Leo. Those would be my top 3 choices of who to be in the next season. I don't think we'll get any of them, but oh man, cool.
I was gonna say Andros also, but I do like the idea of Astronema coming back, not villain wise, but I mean, if there is a base on Eltar, I think it would be really cool if like both of them were there, maybe trying to help Mick or trying to bring Zordon back. I don't know what route that they can easily go, but kind of paying it back. You know what I'm saying, to Zordon after the events of Lost in Space, after Power Rangers in Space. I think that would be a cool little callback.
Going back to what we were saying about the whole Tommy thing, if they were to come across sorry, I shouldn't have said Astronema, I meant to say Corone, but if they come across Corone, it could also be like her kind of convincing their team not to, or her convincing the team not to give up on Ollie. Because same thing with her, she also started off as a villain and then became the Lost Galaxy Ranger.
Yeah, definitely a ton of opportunities there for to take parallels from the past, for sure. Most talented man alive, I suck my own balls is here. He says, I got to say, Dimensions in Danger was a much better anniversary than Legendary Battle was. I wish we had an extended cut and bonus, no annoying Victor and Monty. Doesn't Dimensions in Danger have an extended cut? Isn't that the
the one thing that was
scene,
extended,
though, right?
was the fight scene with Tommy.
Yeah, and then maybe not storyline wise, but yeah, the Tommy stuff was definitely extended. I like that we now have 3 different dimensions: RPM, Dino Charge, and the main universe. It does suck that Ninja Steel is in our main universe, even though they do very bizarre things in that series. I like that Coda and Gemma were the ones to explain that they were from different dimensions. We had a good setup with dimension travel via Time Force remote that West brought over, so it wasn't left unexplained. we actually had quite a lot of original footage, though we didn't have new original morph sequence for the veteran Rangers. The only Sentai footage that we did have was Lord Draven and the Ninja Steel Ranger stuff from the Ninja movie. While the episode itself was entirely Tommy focused, it was great to see Wes, Gemma, and Coda as the supporting roles. Unfortunately, everyone else was just there, but they had at least had lines compared to Legendary Battle. I really appreciated that we learned that Tommy still lived in Reefside and his son and had a son with Kat. They hold hands at the end if you pause. Oh, I don't think I caught that. The Master Morpher, while completely unexplained, it was really cool and was a great way for Tommy to change into his old Ranger colors. To wrap up, while Dimensions in Danger wasn't a great anniversary episode, but it was good, much better than Legendary Battle. It was very rushed. I wish it was a two-parter. Sad that this was JDF's final on-screen appearance as Tommy. What do you guys think of the episode now since it came out, and what would you grade it? So, I appreciate him bringing up the fact that that was technically JDF's final on-screen appearance as Tommy. It never really hit me that way, but honestly, it really makes that extended cut even that much more important to me, and valuable, just to be able to see him literally going through like his whole entire time as a Power Ranger and those transformations, those morphing sequences as he was fighting his robotic self. That's yeah, that holds a different sort of impact for me now that I think about it, Stuart.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, I think overall it was a very fun anniversary episode. Felt very different from the tone of Ninja Steel that they had like kind of established, which I really liked because
Yeah.
I didn't like Ninja Steel as a series at all. And I liked how different that this episode felt. And I like how the director eventually got to become the showrunner for Power Rangers afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like looking at it back since it came out, it's been a while since I watched it, but I'd probably hold the same mentality that you have. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was good. I like enjoyable at least. I definitely do think that there are some things that they could have changed. I hated Lord Draven. It was just like an insult to me. I was just like, bro, we can't just go with Lord Draken or just something fucking cool.
I was
But
wondering that too. Like, I wished that they connected it directly to the comic books and had, Draken come, because you had JDF there. So why not just have him play two characters? In fact, you even had him fighting himself in that special. In fact, even the plot was very similar to Shattered Grid in the sense of an evil Ranger army. You had all the correct assets there. So why not just tie it into Shattered Grid?
yeah, it always confused me, and so I was always insulted by the fact that they didn't go that route and tried to give me something else. So yeah, I would agree with you. Not great anniversary episode, but good. I definitely have it up there, probably like, and as far as like, I don't want to say like out of all the crossover events that we've had, would it be in your top five, Stuart?
Man, I'd have to really think about that. As of now, it would definitely be my top 5 of anniversary events, but that's also like on a scale of 5. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I would definitely put it above the Legendary Battle and Once a Ranger.
Would what would you grade it if you had to grade it?
Ooh, you know what? I'd give it like a solid B minus.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to land. B minus for me too, in regards to that one. And last but not least, Ricky. What's up, Ricky? Ricky Perez coming through. Are we going to see the Dino Fury Rangers on a quest to search for the cosmic orbs this season? I think we might, Ricky. I think that might be like the MacGuffin, if you will, of the series. Maybe them having to acquire stuff like Lord Zed's as powerful as can be. Like we need an upgrade. We need some powers. And maybe the search for the cosmic orbs is how they get there. Like if you remember in Q Ranger, while I didn't necessarily finish it, that whole team doesn't necessarily come together right away, right? Like they add members to the team as the season progresses. So maybe that's kind of similar to Cosmic Fury in the sense that they start off with their Dino Fury powers, and maybe as they transgress through the 10 episodes, maybe they, two get their powers here, three get their powers here, two more get their powers here. You know what I mean? as the season goes through, or who knows, maybe the whole main team gets their powers all at once, but they wind up acquiring some backup in Fern and whoever else as the season progresses. But I do think the search for cosmic orbs will certainly be a sticking point for this series. What do you think, though?
Oh yeah. It would be kind of cool if it turned out that they have as many orbs as they did in Q Ranger, because they have all the Zords. So if they need to get all the orbs to power them, they would also, it's reasonable to assume that you would need like 12 different people to power the Zord. So it would be kind of cool if there are more Rangers coming in that we don't know about, because we already know about Fern and the Ranger Slayer. So in total, if you include Billy, that puts the team at 9, right? Yeah, that means 9 different Rangers, even if they're only there for one episode.
Who are you thinking about? Who
Huh?
you got? You got the 5 traditional ones? Well, maybe
Yes,
not
or
Ollie.
6. Well, but we know that Ollie's going to eventually come back by the end of the series. So 6 if you include Ollie,
Okay,
but then 7 if you include Billy, and then the Ranger Slayer, and then Fern. So sorry,
wait,
8.
what?
My bad.
Okay, yeah. So we have 5,
8.
right? The main 5. Then we have Billy. Then we have Fern,
No,
Rangers.
Ranger Slayer, and then 6 if you include because we have the Gold Ranger too.
Oh shit, you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking the
Yeah.
core of 5, but you're right. The main 6, Billy, Fern, Ranger Slayer. So yeah, that's 9. Give me Mick. Maybe he'll be 10. Who
Oh
knows?
yeah, and just 2 more to go. Who knows who it could be if that's where they go with it. They may not. It may honestly there may only be like 7 in the show, and that the other Rangers are only there for cameos. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes for sure. Marcelino is clarifying, says he believes Lord Dragon was written before the Shadow Grid comic came out. So not necessarily a ripoff, but it was always comes off as a ripoff. Yeah, it always came across as a ripoff for me.
See, the thing is though, like, it kind of felt like Shattered Grid had been planned for a while, because they introduced Draken like a while ago, like early in the comic books. And it was coming across the 25th. So I feel like the big reason was just because the writers they didn't want to collaborate, because then there would have to be a lot of planning, and it would be challenging, because then you also have to go against scheduling as well. But I feel like if the comic book writers just gave them a basic idea of what the overall plot of Shattered Grid was going to be, and then the writers of the show just took their own take on it, but made it very self-contained, I still think you could have pulled it off. You could have found a way, but it is it was Neon Saban, or Hiam Saban, who was still in charge at the time. So as we all know, he just didn't care.
Just didn't care. But that will wrap it up for all of our live viewer questions today. So thank you to everybody that certainly submitted your questions down below for today's episode. Next week, we probably will not have a live episode of APlus Hero Report. I do have some fantasy football drafts that day, so I may be out of commission most of the day. But if anything, the following week, we definitely will be back. So we will be taking a weekend off, but you can definitely expect this back September 3rd. Well, that's Labor Day weekend, isn't it? I don't even know if Stuart or Indy will be in the area, but maybe it'll be a solo dolo episode. Who knows? But we'll definitely keep you posted. So yeah, no new episode next week of APlus Hero Report. But again, we will at least be back beginning September 3rd. So look for us then. But other than that, Stuart, I think that's going to do it for us here today, man. If people want to reach out to you on social media, are you still on Twitter at all, or any type of social media?
I've deleted my Twitter account. I am still on Instagram, though, if you guys want to reach out to me on Instagram at TurboStew01.
So yeah, reach out to Stuart there if you can on IG. You can follow us clearly down here where all of our socials certainly are. We actually just opened up a TikTok. I haven't done any TikTok dances yet, y'all, but maybe eventually we'll get there. But we did just open up our TikTok. AJ is helming the TikTok over there for us. I'm dropping some things here or there. Look, if you guys know social media, if you know how to edit social media videos and things like that. We're always certainly looking for additions to APlus Hero Report. If you want to be a contributor in some sense, maybe working alongside AJ when it comes to the TikTok stuff, maybe posting stuff on Instagram or Twitter for us. I mean, we got a couple of social media content that we could definitely use some help on. So if you know a thing or two about social media, if you're pretty savvy with it when it comes to editing videos, reach out to us. Feel free to become a contributor here. You can go ahead and message us or email us. There is links in the comment section box or links in the description box below if you want to inquire about it, or just reach out to us. But if you want to follow us at APlus Opinions, we are over on TikTok at Hero Report, on TikTok for you guys. But other than that, I think that will do it for us here, Stuart. So we'll certainly be back next weekend. So in the meantime, y'all, do us a big favor as always. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.